Millimeter, it be accurately measured. It's measured flat, direction up and down. Flat level we at, flight over ground. Descending from that breeze, heading in degrees. Horizontal, flat, ESC. Now you know it's flat below ground. Measured flat. You hearing me now?
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Also check out my book, Measured Flat, link in the info box below the video, together with a link to become an affiliate if you wanted to make 30% from selling the book. So check that out if you wanted to make money off the publication of Measured Flat. If not, just check it out, buy a copy and read it. Also linked in the info box below this video. But with that, I'm going to pass across to whoever is in Discord and Google. That'd be Neil, Click OK, Surf Daddy, Len, Eli, Christian, and a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I get to open my mic and say hello without worrying about whether or not the fire truck is going to ruin the greeting. So I will be taking the first good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good to hear you with an update on your noise cancellation situation.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Right, I got a big grape stuck in my teeth that I was munching before we went live. Other than that, pretty good. No issues. Very happy. I want to do a quick shout out. So I did a little call to action yesterday where I suggested that people who had purchased a copy of the book actually went and made a review, and somebody did. So Brian Townsend, thank you so much for leaving a review of the book on the website. I really appreciate it. Now, that's not to say that the people who have contacted me directly, some of which have given me money to say thank you. So they've said, I've bought the book, really enjoying it, here's money via PayPal. So obviously I'm grateful to them too. But as I specifically did a call to action yesterday for people to actually make a review of the book and get it published, then obviously I'm going to shout out that today. So thank you very much, Brian. Really do appreciate you putting the effort in, because it was a fairly lengthy review. There was a bit about Revelation that I didn't fully understand that Neil broke down after the fact. But you can check that out for yourself if you want to go to the review section on Books Online. Ideally, just buy a copy of the book and review it yourself, but hopefully a few others will do exactly that in the coming days and weeks. So if there are any other noteworthy reviews, I'll read those out as well, as I did today in the pre-show. So once again, a massive thank you to Brian Townsend. Thank you very much for writing a review. I will do the same call to action again, as it's obviously proved successful. If you have purchased the book and you'd like to leave a review, obviously I'd be delighted if it was a 5-star review like Brian left, but leaving your comments would be greatly appreciated, as it does drive sales of the book. And it is a commercial endeavour. That is to say, I do want it to make money. So please, if you would be so kind. Obviously, I'm grateful again to those of you who have supported me financially via PayPal for congratulating me on having a book. Obviously, everyone loves money, but in this regard, to drive the sales of the book, a review would be really well received. So hopefully a few of my own panel will do that once they've actually got to the end of reading the book. And Neil, although involved in the entire production process, has said that he still wants to actually read the end product before he makes a review. So there we go. Go ahead, whoever that was.
Oh, you got somebody in chat saying that they... Go ahead, Eli.
Is it required that you purchase a copy in order to be able to leave a review in the section on the website?
I don't actually know the answer to that. I think you can leave a review if you haven't purchased it, but then it just doesn't come up as a verified purchase. It has to go through the publisher. So I'm guessing that. I haven't specifically asked Chuck about that, so maybe that's something I'll ask him about.
Why would you leave a review without reading it?
Well, no, I'm just saying because all of the bad reviews that the pseudo book is getting, um, it's like they can do that because they can just download a copy from wherever, go on Amazon and leave a copy. I mean, and leave a bad scathing review as whoever. But I'm just thinking, well, since this was distributed differently, maybe there's a little bit of a different impact there in the comment section. Might be a little cleaner. That's all I was thinking about.
Oh, okay. There's a guy in chat that says he just purchased a book and is enjoying reading it. Joseph De Freitas, 56.
Thank you very much for purchasing it. I really appreciate it. It's sold incredibly well. As I sit here munching grapes, I should probably not do that. It's sold really well, and I am elated. I still need to sort out my own account with the publisher. So as it stands, Paula, who's helped me obviously do some of the editing work on the book and is now currently going through the process of doing the, I don't know if you call it marketing, PR, I suppose is the right terminology, public relations, has got her own affiliate link, which is what I typically use or have been for the last 10 days. But as it stands, I can see her affiliate earnings, but not my own. So for whatever reason, I've got a very limited affiliate account of my own as the author, which I've sent an email to the publisher today about. I'm like, my wife's outperforming me in the money that she's earned. She's delighted. You know what I mean? So that I don't know. I don't know how much I'm actually going to earn from it until I see it in black and white, and that's not been fully resolved yet. It's early doors, so I'm sure there's nothing to be concerned about. It will just eventually resolve. Not itself, because it's going to involve work on the part of the site owner or publisher, in this case Chuck. So I'm sure it'll resolve that. But at the moment, I can't say I've sold this number total. I know that when we reached 100 copies total, Paula was on about 70, 75 through her affiliate link. And now she's at 101, 102 copies just via her own affiliate link. But there's also about a dozen affiliates that have signed up. So what I did see on my page today was like a whole list in the bottom of all the different people that had signed up as an affiliate and had sold copies off the back of their link. I'm looking at it and I couldn't quite freaking believe my eyes. I'm like, wow, people have actually, warmed to the idea of having affiliate marketing. And I thought about it and I thought, as a YouTuber over the years, as somebody that's doing this for a living, you kind of hope that somebody will get in touch with you and say, do you want to sell my product? Now, if you're familiar with Raid Shadow Legends or NordVPN or Raycon headphones, right? You know what I'm talking about. Those are the sorts of things that your average YouTuber aspires to get. Somebody's at my door. Can you guys keep the conversation for a second? I think somebody actually trying to deliver me something. One sec.
Can we keep the conversation?
Yeah, so I was really enjoying the book also, but I've screwed myself. You guys want to know why or how?
Do tell us on the new microphone.
Right? It's so windy. I'm driving past so many 18-wheelers in New York City. Trust me, it is very loud. I can hear it, but you guys can't. So what's interesting, this is how I screwed myself. I said, hey, babe, so you know that book that we've been talking about, fighting over and all that? It's finally done. You want to read it together? I wasn't expecting her to say yeah, She said yeah. And it's like that thing where you promise to watch a movie together, and it's like you want to be on season 5 and your partner is just lollygagging. So that's my situation.
Have you got to the chapter
I
on?
want to read the book, but if I read it by myself, she's going to be like, oh, you read the book without me. Ah.
Well, there's a particularly lewd part in one chapter about a character called Simulacra Encode. Have you got to that bit yet? When you do, it's quite salacious. There's a couple of salacious stories in the book.
Not yet, but
just be prepared.
Sure it'll be. Okay.
I would be hesitant to read it out on a live stream. I would get away with it if I did read it out, but you might get some, devout Christians clutching their pearls that there was a story of somebody being particularly filthy in the company of others. But that's people,
Yeah,
right?
but that's what happened. Why would they get offended? If that's what happened on a live show and you're writing about it, I don't understand how any Christian would have a problem with it. It's what happened.
Yes, but sometimes things that happen are particularly salacious. So, you know, when you write about them, I'm saying this with a wry smile because I do want to appeal to that lowbrow audience member when they're reading it. Now, there's a little bit of that in everybody. That is to say that if you're reading the book and taking in the higher level conceptual postulations or demonstrations of how Earth is measured flat, in the face of a paradigm that has led you, the reader, to believe that you were, past tense, on a sphere/inner sphere. That's at the highest level. Now, that's not to say that somebody who's enjoying the book because it concisely explains the fact that Earth's measured flat won't enjoy that during my particular interaction with the subject, there's been certain relationships that have been built up with individuals that are kooky, and therefore they've done kooky things. And some of them very amusing kooky things. And also some are useful for demonstrating a certain psychology of the people inside the arena. So in that particular example, it's just a little bit risque, let's just say, in terms of what happened. I don't want to give away that particular anecdote. I mean, it's like half a paragraph. It's not like it's massive. But, you know what I'm saying? It's particularly salacious when you get to the part about a character, called Simulacra Encode. Anyway. So yeah, let me know when you get to it.
One day, if AI gets so good that you can sort of use an AI model to like pull out like these things that you're talking in the book from the live stream, like if AI could find the particular episode, wouldn't that be amazing?
Yes and no, it didn't happen on a live stream. So this anecdote is specific to a smaller group of individuals that formed. Now, obviously, these are all just characters, right? That is to say that while based on real events, in this case, it's a true story, I've changed the names of the individuals to spare them the embarrassment. That is to say, there is a certain level of plausible deniability that the specific individual could offer up, let's just say. So, you know, the name of this particular character was changed, and lots of the other characters that are involved in the stories have also had their name changed for the same reasons, which is to say, to spare them embarrassment for the most part. Like, I think at the beginning of the book, I put something like to protect the innocent. Nobody's innocent. Far from it.
Yeah, I like to be super, like, you know, you could have put my name as Elijah Bozeman or something.
No, you didn't get a part, I'm afraid.
Enough to throw me off the trail.
I'm really sorry to disappoint you. You don't feature. I'm really sorry, Eli.
No, I haven't. I understand. It doesn't have to be sorry.
That's good. The majority of people who are probably wouldn't want to have been, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But there are certain individuals that their part in the story, while might be capable of having a certain degree of negative spin put on it. One particular individual I happened to be writing about at one of the art classes, my daughter's art classes. And just by pure chance, he contacted me while I was writing about him. I'm like, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm writing a book and I'm actually writing about you as we speak. He was like, oh yeah. I went, do you want to read what I've written about you? And he was like, yeah, go on then. So I sent it to him. And, you know, when somebody doesn't actually respond verbally or in text in this instance, because it was via text message or whatever, he didn't. He just put a thumbs up on the text itself. So I sent him this chunk of text, fully unedited. It was just, like I say, as I was writing it. And he just put a little thumbs up symbol on it. So I'm like, well, I can only assume that means you approve. You know what I mean? But that particular individual, he recently actually subbed to me on Instagram. Anyway, the point is that particular individual, his story, whilst potentially capable of having negative spin put on it, wasn't a particularly negative, you know, anecdotal endeavour in the book. It was just relatively neutral. But someone directly associated with him, which is why he's in there, is this individual I'm talking about that has a salacious story attached. So these two particular characters are semi-intertwined at one stage of the book. That is to say, some of the, although not a storybook, there is a certain degree of character arc for certain individuals, and this is just one of those examples. Anyway, I think it's in a chapter called Lunatics. Anyway, we've actually got something to do today. So this was provided by Sensual Goat, and as we've been covering videos, well, we covered a video yesterday, we should continue this theme, but I'll do a plug for the person that actually promoted the material, as we're going to be responding to her. I'm reliably informed. I described this particular character as a quite androgynous looking, I should have looked at the name, it's Emma. Would have given it away. To my credit, I just saw the thumbnail that was shared with me, as opposed to actually watching it, which I've not done yet, other than to do a sound check. But this particular video is called 50 Gov Docs That Prove Flat Earther is an Idiot.
It's going to be a good one. We've seen a little bit of it yesterday. This is going to be really good. I can't wait.
You get 100 characters, so 50 government documents with a capital T that, okay, fine, capitalise, prove a flat earther is an idiot, or this flat earther is an idiot, but just 50 gov docs, then lowercase that, fully capitalised, prove. I mean, my God. Sheesh. Anyway, no point being a grammar Nazi when I've got at least 2 spelling errors in my book that's just come out. They've been corrected now. Okay, so, wow, this is a long lost video. It's about Eric Dubay by the looks of things. Does it start / who is Eric Dubay? Okie dokie, should we get into this? Yes, Nathan, we're all super keen. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it.
Hurry up.
Hurry up. How dare you. Do it at my own pace, thank you very much indeed. Let's just get myself comfortable. Okay, does anybody know this video? Say again.
I say, how y'all doing?
Oh, hi, John. I'm doing very well.
John, how are you?
I just need to... I've now resized it when I should have scrolled. I'm semi-distracted, I've got to be honest.
We're
Okay,
going over a video, Refracted. We are no longer going into a den of thieves and robbers.
Oh, really? That was it was pretty interesting. You know what time I was there. You'd think they would have tried a little bit harder, don't you?
You can't debate a measurement. You can only say this is your belief, but you can't contest it. It's a measurement.
Going back to Joe and Jane Normie videos on the geometry of Earth now.
Well, yeah, that's the way to do it.
I'm munching grapes, I'm really sorry. I went off camera to do it at least. Right, I've put a link to Emma Thorne's video in the live stream chat. Please let Emma Thorne know. I'm going to have to get rid of these grapes out of my teeth. Just give me a second.
I heard y'all was talking about the Coriolis effect yesterday.
Yeah, I've trimmed that out, actually. I've turned that into a video. So I'll take the girl that we were covering, Star something or other, and put the trimmed out clip of the adenoidal dude, you know, sunrise and sunset prove a globe, or whatever he said. I can't remember. I've trimmed that out. Along with the Jaffa Cake advert that I was talking about. Did anybody, British people, because it was a French woman in an English class teaching, you know, I don't know, 5 and 6 and 7 year olds maybe, about the eclipse. Can anybody remember this Jaffa Cake advert?
Yeah, I remember it. She holds up a Jaffa Cake in front of the kids. Full moon, takes a bite. Half moon, then eats the rest. Then total eclipse.
Yeah, she does it in a French accent though. So yeah, full moon, half moon, total eclipse. But I'm going to trim that into the into the clip with Star whatever I called her, Star and Ease. Right, anyway, yes, so please let Emma Thorne know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots, or indeed, in this case, Emma, the videographer herself. So obviously we just want to remind her politely that we have addressed some of the outlying themes in her video that we'll be responding to in a moment. If you do pop along to her video, the idea is to increase her engagement. That is to hopefully encourage her to increase mine if she was to do a response to us, and hopefully do the same, which is to address me and put a link to me like I'm putting a link to her to my live audience. So please engage with Emma, let her know at Nathan Oakley 1980. That is a @ symbol, then Nathan Oakley 1980, all one word, so that it comes up as a blue link that you can then link back to this channel via the comment that you leave. But if you just let her know, we have responded to her video. I don't know how harsh we will be. We'll find out shortly, I'm sure. And fortunately for me, it's response to Eric Dubay, so we can hopefully have some fun with her response to Eric. So yeah, please let her know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Don't be passive aggressive, don't be rude, don't swear, or your comment will just get removed by YouTube. And if you're underhanded in your address to her, I'm sure she'll delete your comment as well, so as would I. So please be respectful when letting her know that we've covered her video. Anything anybody else wants to add before we comment on Emma Thorne's video? How big is she? 296,000 subscribers, so she's got a pretty substantial channel. Kudos. Anybody know anything about it? Anybody want to make a comment before we cover it? If not, we'll get into it.
Never heard of her.
Me neither.
The aircraft trajectory model employed in this study.
If it is such that an assumption in a paper by NASA that is made for the sake of doing an equation must actually mean that that is representative of reality, then that also means that NASA are admitting that the acceleration of gravity is constant, which we know is not true. The air density is constant, which we know is not true. Use your noggin, Eric. Hello.
I mean, that
my God, she's the female version of you, Nathan. I'm not gonna lie.
What?
She even sounds sure about what she's talking about, which is gonna make this interesting. I'm saying she has a similar tone as you. Just a touch of. Anyway, does anybody else agree?
Yes, I agree completely. So similar in tone. You've been using your noggin.
And also, obviously, the same accent. So I thought that went without saying.
When the video started, Eric Dubay kind of sounded like Brenda in my
Brenda,
head.
right? See, you're listening too. Yes. All right, now that the kids have had their fun. All right.
Trying to get my dib-dab to work so I don't have to constantly use the mouse. And I need to be on camera. Oh, I've got a lot going on.
Hello, lovely people. My name is Emma. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new. Now, ever since the final experiment in 2024, the Flat Earth community...
Wait. Welcome. That was a really close intro to... All right. Am I? Okay. I'll let it go. That intro, though.
What's you not got any issue with her talking about there being a final experiment? I need to close this door now. She said...
should have called it the final measurement.
Well, unless you're confronted with me and then the measurement that you've made has got nothing to do with the surface of Earth, end quote, one of the participants named MC Toon. But maybe we'll get into that later.
Community has certainly died off on the internet.
Died off? No, we've been censored. So since the final experiment, the censorship became more egregious. That is to say, I suffered immediately afterwards. The distribution of my material was limited even further than it already was. But if you want to perceive that as the case, that's fair enough, as that would be the public's outlook, given that they're not actually paying close attention to the whys and wherefores of who's in this particular arena, and why would they? So I don't begrudge you having that opinion, but there is a justifiable reason. Censorship, pretty simple. If you don't believe me, go and listen to Congress being told that they have to promote preferred content.
If you missed the final experiment, it was essentially
Not an experiment. Should I go through what an experiment is at this stage? And you did it yesterday with Coriolis deflection in mind. Is it worth explaining experiment? I'm not going to.
expedition that took years of preparation.
But not an experiment then. So an expedition. Good. I'm glad I spell on. So you've done it for me. So not the elucidation of cause and effect based on systematic experimentation after a hypothesis has been formed based on your supposition of causal influencer being varied and manipulated to see if it does or doesn't cause the effect. There you go, I explained the scientific method anyway. That would be an experiment. But actually an expedition. Yeah, it was an expedition followed by a load of flat Earth measurements.
A bunch of prolific flat Earth YouTubers were taken to Antarctica to see the 24-hour sun.
Maybe. Allegedly.
Phenomena that cannot be explained using the flat Earth model.
So phenomena not explained with the fact they measured it flat. They measured it with azimuth and altitude. The phenomena, what, the sun? I don't know if you'd say you'd exactly caused the effect of the sun if you're going to suggest this is an experimental validity that's been offered. If the phenomena is the sun, then you need to vary and manipulate that which you presume causes that effect. That's what an experiment would be.
Excuse me, she described the model to us.
Well, when you say flat Earth model, I mean, yes, I understand that they were there to burn a straw man of the azimuthal, equidistant, North Pole-centric globe projection, otherwise known as the Gleason's map. That's what she's talking about. Well, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and suggest that she's not in this arena, so she's going to take certain stereotypes and predetermined outcomes as they've been presented to her. You know, I'm not going to expect that she's suddenly done a load of primary source research on what she's talking about. She's just giving out the general consensus view if you scratch the surface of what she's detailing. So from that perspective, I'm not going to necessarily critique her in that regard. I just accept that she's going to give the normie point of view on it. Why wouldn't I?
It changed hearts and minds, and ever since then there have been far fewer flat Earth videos.
Sorry, changing the hearts and minds of people? What are you, the frickin' president? No, when you're talking about experimental validity, it's empirical outcomes based on systematic experimentation. Whether or not it converts hearts and minds is irrelevant of the scientific method if this is going to be called an experiment. But winning hearts and minds, that sounds like a PR exercise, doesn't it? After an expedition, end quote you.
On the internet,
however. A bit
however.
of anti-fluff to me, to be honest. She's mentioned Will Duffy's expedition and whatnot. I think she knows enough of that side of it to be an anti-fluff.
Maybe. I don't know her, so like I say, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
However, some people's lives revolved around, if you'll pardon the pun, flat Earth conspiracy theorizing. And that was
funny. You know, when you revolve around something, it's always with respect to a plane of reference.
That's correct.
So, yeah, I like your pun, sweetheart, but it's mine.
Your pun is planar.
Yeah, you know, azimuth, 360 degrees, measured horizontal angle from true north. Yeah, flat Earth.
Their whole social community and no amount of proof, however.
See, that's what people perceive flat Earth to be. Something to do with a community and their interactions and their videography output. Like, Earth being measured flat has no consequence on those things. That's the PSYOP version of flat Earth, where it's created to be a community of conspiratards who you've got to win over in terms of their hearts and minds. Me, I'm rejecting that as we speak. I did it today. Somebody said, you and your flat Earth conspiracy. Like, it's not mine. I have no bearing, no pun intended, on this. Earth as measured. It is flat by way of measurement. But that's not mine. I have no responsibility. There is a community that's been brought about by having inroads to the subject from various other conspiratorial subjects, which makes people on the outside looking in perceive it to be a community-based belief. But it isn't. Earth's just measured flat.
Never definitive is ever going to be enough. That leads us to...
Definitive? What, like measuring it flat? That's pretty definitive.
To a man called Eric Dubay. If you've seen much flat Earth content, you've probably, almost certainly, I'd say, have come across him, especially if...
Yeah, I know Eric Dubay. I'm one of his patrons.
If you're a follower of Simon Dan, there's a video on Dan's channel featuring Eric Dubay from a few months ago. I'll leave it in the description for you. I think you should check it out.
Let me get this straight. You're saying you're going to cover Eric Dubay No suggestion of a link to Eric Dubay. Let's see if she's actually put a link to Eric Dubay's video. I don't see a link to Eric Dubay's video. So you're going to be covering Eric Dubay's video, and you don't verbally say you can check out Eric Dubay's videos by searching for Eric Dubay or going to a link that you're going to utilise, like I've done. So already queued up in my notepad, paste worthy immediately, is a link to your video, my love. That is to say, while I'm covering you, I've said to my audience, go and let this person know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to help you in the YouTube algorithmic love that I don't receive. And neither does Eric. He's had to work incredibly hard against the censorship of Flat Earth at the decree of Congress. Like, they've told YouTube to promote Simon Dan. Preferred content, they call it. And not promote me and Eric. But when you're covering Eric, that is to say you're lining your pockets with the ad revenue from this video, you talk about Eric exclusively, and then when it comes to an opportunity to promote the video that you're actually going to be covering, you bring in a non-related person that you're not covering, that's Simon Dan, and encourage your audience to go and subscribe to him because he's covered Eric Dubay. Wow, how scummy are you? As a fellow YouTuber, I spit in disgust at your behaviour towards a fellow YouTuber. Eric Dubay's just another YouTuber like you, of a similar size. Why wouldn't you encourage your audience to go and check out his videos, given that you have obviously deemed him worthy and you're giving him time to critique him? Regardless of it being in the negative, you're now generating material off the back of Eric's material, but you won't even tell your audience to go and check him out and leave a comment. How scummy. Now me, I will. Check it out. I'll do it right now. Go and let Emma know that she's a total scum. No, I'm only joking. Be polite, courteous, and let her know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me when he covered your material. Now, I'm a much smaller YouTuber than you, and I'm still going to give you the courtesy and dignity of having people send their way as a fellow YouTuber. Now, you're not even going to do that. You're going to send people to Simon because he's covered Eric, the one you're covering. Why? Outrageous. Go ahead.
I think it has to do with the filtration of information. They cannot let the general population hear the claims from the mouth of the flat earthers.
That's correct.
There needs to be a buffer.
Yeah, in other words, don't listen to Eric, listen to Simon Dan talking about Eric, or me talking about Eric, so I can spin what information you take in from that source.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that's why when I was suggesting that the thieves were critiquing the book and, wanted to point out the bad stuff about it. That's why that having them actually read, which the portion of the book that they have a problem with, would be devastating to them. They can't read the stuff that could get people to think, right? So it's like, I think it was John was saying that, she can't have people going to someone else's site that she's reviewing badly and actually listen for themselves. That's why none of them are going to give links to videos, or they're going to plug the book, and they're especially not going to read the book. Here, this is what Nathan says, blah, 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 blah. They'll never do that, which is why you should encourage them to do that when they get old.
Yeah, you got to have a buffer. Corleone family has a lot of buffers.
Enjoy it. And let's be honest, Dan knows a hell of a lot better than I do what he's talking about.
Does he? When it came to Coriolis deflection, I quote, "You and your reference frames have been ruined," end quote, Simon Dan. That is Simon Dan decrying the heliocentric rhetoric that we have a 15 degrees an hour drift that is suggested to be observable. Now, because we don't observe Coriolis deflection, Dan told me that my reference frames have been ruined, demonstrating admirably that he hadn't got the slightest idea how Coriolis deflection is suggested to work in a globe Earth paradigm. He hadn't got a clue, and was willing to tell me that I haven't got any reference frames, I don't use them, their globe Earth reference frames, are ruined, end quote him. You think he's smart? Dan is mentally retarded.
It's so, like
sorry.
Go ahead.
So there's that buffer again. She says Simon Dan knows much more about as jackhammers are going on right next to me. Sorry.
I can't hear him.
But it's like she's saying Simon Dan has all the information. That's letting us know right now her information is as good as his gossip. That's what, like, if you look at YouTube culture right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, there's a bunch of people reviewing people who are reviewing things. And that's what's happening here. She's reviewing someone who's reviewing a flat earther. And that's as far as people's awareness gets to flat earth right now. Or any other truth. It's like they have no idea what listening to the source sounds like, but they think they know everything because they got the gist of it from someone that they trust.
I agree.
And I feel like maybe she didn't really know about this particular subject, but to feel smart, like, oh, let me watch a couple of science videos. You run across Simon Dan and you also think flat earth is ridiculous, and boom, you're already a YouTube channel, or you're already an influencer, or whatever you are, and you run across Simon Dan and you're like, this is all I need to know what I know. But we know better than that. We know that's not true. She's just making a fool out of herself. She's going to learn today.
Well, I agree. It's just lazy videography covering people who are covering people. Absolutely, totally lazy videography. Anyway, let's get back to our coverage of Emma covering Eric Dubay.
Nevertheless, I think that my idiot brain is the perfect counter to the flat earther idiot brain.
I hate people who do that. Self-deprecation. Like, if you're going to have false modesty, have it after you've done something smart, right? Rather than, oh, my idiot brain. Is this a disclaimer? I don't think so, given that your clip that you used at the beginning was described as being bullshit up front. So I don't think you believe that. So this self-deprecation, it seems insincere. So I don't trust you now. I just think you're insincere.
Now, since Eric Dubay, as far as I can tell, has no relevant scientific qualification, I think that makes me, a 2-time graduate of the arts, the perfect person to debunk his latest video. Yes, he is still making videos. This is 1 week old at time of filming. Yeah. Isn't that exciting? The only information I can find about Eric Dubay personally...
Why? Why do you need to cover anything about him personally? Why? Does his personal interactions with life in general have any bearing on the subject of Earth and its flatness? Is it just that it sounds like you want to dig up dirt on him? That's how it sounds. That's how that came across. Anybody disagree?
I do not disagree, but getting personal. She's like in a child's bedroom here with loads of stuffed toys. You could pick it back.
That's a good observation.
Well, she's already started off with the ad homs by implying that anybody's flat earth is stupid. So why not roll on with them?
Yep, it's the same old character assassination.
Is his own profiles written online. His Amazon profile says that he was a former university professor. The most detailed information I can find on that is a spurious website that alleges he has a double bachelor's in art and philosophy. Fellow student of the arts, maybe. There's nothing more suspicious to me than somebody being like, I was a professor. I was a professor at a university.
Who cares? This is completely irrelevant. Now, this is a glorified ad hom. It's actually called a poisoning the well fallacy. That's what this is called, where before you actually cover any of the guy's information, you try and discredit him as an individual. Yeah, it's called poisoning the well. Fallacious.
One presumes he says that so that people will assume he has a scientific background. It's a bit like saying, I was a businessman. I worked in business. Name the company? Name the university? Whatever. He's also a self-described...
I have to step in here. Right, while this chick waffles on about Eric Dubay personally, Earth is measured flat. It's measured with horizontal distance called miles or kilometres. And any deviation of Earth's flat measurements in horizontal distance will be described perpendicular with altitude measurements from a datum we measure also flat called sea level. Mean sea level gives you the vertical deviation perpendicular to the flat linear distances every inch of Earth has been measured with. So just while this chick decides that she's going to poison the well against Eric, I'm going to drop in a flat Earth measurement right on top of her garbage, just to humiliate her and demonstrate that in this discussion, it's not a debate. We can appeal to Earth and its flat measurements in horizontal linear miles, as per the scale on maps. Don't like that one? Maybe the azimuthal directionality that you will be afforded with a compass. You can just... Go ahead.
What does that have to do with science?
It's not a scientific category. We're talking about geography.
We're talking about science.
Well, yeah, she's discrediting him based on the apprehension that this is a science of the globe versus non-science of somebody who braces against the globe. So there's a misconception that we're talking about whether or not he has any scientific credentials. That's what she's doing when she poisons the well, this fallacious line of reasoning that she has opened with, right? It's not a science category. There's no cause and effect reasoning. That's if and then statements designed to elucidate the cause of the then statement, the effect that you study when you're studying the physical and natural world. That's physics. Physics is a study of the physical natural world where you observe phenomena and then suppose a cause for that phenomena. That's a hypothesis. If my supposed cause, then the effect I observed. It's mirrored with something called a null or zero difference result. If my supposed cause, then no effect or zero difference result. A null and alternative sit alongside each other in something called a scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis. The actualization of scientific predictions is called experiment. Something that you talked about at the beginning of your video, my dear, where you suggested that an expedition to win the hearts and minds, end quote you, was an experiment, because you don't know what science actually is. The elucidation of natural phenomena through cause and effect suppositional validation, called experiment. When you experiment, that's to say you vary and manipulate that which you assume causes an effect you've observed, the variation and manipulation of your presumed cause will either cause the effect, that's to say validate the causal influence of the relationship, or not cause the effect, validating the zero difference result. An empirical methodology. This, that you're detailing, is whether or not a man, an individual who has no bearing on Earth's measurements, has scientific credentials. What this is a poisoning the well fallacy in a category error. Measurements of Earth, that's geography, not science.
Yogi? A picnic biscuit. Not that kind of yogi. Sun salutation kind of yogi, I think. And he's written 7 books about flat Earth, I guess. Another fun alleged fact, which I cannot verify because the original video has been removed. Allegedly, Eric Dubay is also a Holocaust denier. Just an all-around fun guy. So despite the...
So a full-blown assault on the man. Full on, every ounce of poisoning the well that you can throw at the guy, right? Disgraceful. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, this is going to lead up to an appeal to a false authority when she appeals to science professors, NASA, people like that.
I spilled my coffee. This is what happens when you have your coffee in a different place to usual. Don't look at this. Emma, cut this out. So only a week ago, Eric Dubay posted this video. 50 government documents proving flat Earth. One of my favorite things in a lot of conspiracy communities is the weight that is put on government documentation. It's 50% misunderstanding or deliberate misreading of released old documents, and 50% ignoring the parts where I'm mostly thinking of the psychic community and UFO stuff, where they release all these documents years later.
So this is a continuation of a poisoning the well fallacy with a false equivalence. This is disgraceful.
The statistics on those statistics. 50% of all statistics are made up. What?
That's a Vic Reeves joke. So it's actually 67.4% of all statistics are made up on the spot. Vic Reeves.
I heard that was 83.2%.
No, it's definitely 67.4% of statistics being made up on the spot. Meanwhile, this is a false equivalence. Rather than giving an example of where this particular individual that she's just poisoned the well with, Eric Dubay, has misrepresented, that's what she's accusing him of, the documents. She's generalised by stereotype and then taken the stereotype to a false equivalence. Okay, so in a different arena that's not related to this man, you can give an example. It's a false equivalence fallacy to continue your misrepresentation of a man when you poison the well against him. This is a disgrace, isn't it?
100.
And the documents all say, yeah, we didn't find anything. Yeah, we did spend like $2 million on researching psychic phenomena, which a lot of people in that community use as proof that it exists.
That's not Eric Dubay's community. Yeah, false equivalence fallacy. Yeah, to poison the well.
Looking for phenomenon? What the hell?
Yeah.
If you don't observe the phenomenon, it's not a phenomenon.
She doesn't know what science is, so when she poisons the well with the false equivalence, she doesn't realise that not only is the entirety of her position in a category error, so is her false equivalence fallacy, by comparison. So she's in a category error in this as well. That's correct, John.
But if you'll actually read the documents, you will see that our findings were nothing. The US government did the work, poured a lot of money into it, and turns out there's still no evidence. So I'm kind of assuming this is going to be the same two factors. Let's just find out.
Just for kicks and giggles, should we make a few assumptions about this?
Why not?
I assume you're a lesbian. Based on your haircut and your general demeanour and your general unpleasantness, I assume you're a lesbian.
I assume she will look past any measurements that are made and give apologetics for why it must still be a sphere.
I assume you are generally overlooked by all men. I assume that when men start talking to you, they find you repugnant quite quickly and then turn their backs on you. I'm assuming that you are generally repulsive to the members of the opposite sex, if you're not a lesbian. Are we okay to make these assumptions? Is it just like we're kind of poisoning the well unnecessarily? Is it like you feeling like, how dare you suddenly bring up my repugnant appearance? Now, I described you as androgynous prior to us covering this based on your appearance in the thumbnail. That is to say, I couldn't identify you if you're male or female. That's how I felt about you. Does it seem like that's a bit unreasonable to suddenly start stereotyping you and saying maybe you're a member of the LGBT community and you're going to be some sort of liberal and generally irritating, screaming and having meltdowns in places that you demand that we give you your correct gender assignment or some of the shite? Should we make all sorts of assumptions about you based on your demeanour and your appearance? Yeah? Just by assumption, end quote you. You're assuming that, are you? All right, yeah, we can make all sorts of assumptions about you. Generally speaking, we like to focus on how flat Earth gets measured. That's what we do. But you can make all your assumptions, and then by reflection, I can hold a mirror up to it. And I hope you're horrified. Yeah, I don't actually think any of those things about you. I couldn't give the tiniest of shites about you, frankly. But when I air them, I'm doing it to hold a mirror up to your actions. I hope what you see is repugnant.
Today's video is sponsored by Raycon. Ready dial.
You know, wait, it's Raycon. I was talking about this earlier. This is the perfect opportunity. So I was talking about how I was slightly overwhelmed when I went to my affiliate program page on the website as the author. And it isn't fully sorted out yet, so I don't actually seem to be making any money from the book as yet, but I'm sure that'll change. I am. It's just it's not logged on this particular page. But what was logged on the page was all the people who've joined as the affiliates. I'm like, wow, look at all these people that have joined as affiliates and sold books that are already making money. That's to say they've already handed over their bank account details, put a link below their video and started selling the book. Now, obviously, I make 30% when it sells, but so do they. So they're already making money. I was like, wow, people are making money off the back of the affiliate program already. And why wouldn't you want that? I remember thinking, and this is where the story I forgot to round out in the pre-show comes into play, that I would love to have an affiliate program. You know, obviously, I'd like to maximise the revenue I make from being a YouTuber, like selling Raycons or World of Warcraft or what was the Raid Shadow Legends or NordVPN, right? Just pure irony. She started selling Raycons just by pure coincidence. Very amusing. Nevertheless, now I'm in a position because I was like reflecting on how I would like to do the same thing to maximise my revenue. I'm now in a position where rather than being offered an affiliate program so that I can make money off the back of my videos by having a little pause and saying this video is brought to you by Raycon like she's about to do, I'm doing something completely different. I'm actually providing the facility for other YouTubers to have an affiliate program below their video. That is to say, you can make a percentage from selling this particular item. Now, it wouldn't matter if it's headphones, a VPN or Raid Shadow Legends, right? It's just a thing that you can stop in the middle of your video and go, just to let you know, you can buy a copy of Measured Flat, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth by Nathan Oakley, link below this video, and then you can make a percentage of something that just sells. It's an item for sale, but as offered out to my audience as the affiliate that essentially leads that path. It's obviously not mine, it's my publisher's facilities to do this. But the fact that I can do it at all takes it from me going, I really hope I get something that I can put out there as a piece of sponsored content that pays me. And instead, I'm the one offering it to others. So if you did want to make a percentage from a book sale, then you can become an affiliate. There's a link below my video. So instead of shouting out Raid Shadow Legends, or in this case, Raycon, you could be shouting out Measured Flat and selling a product that does actually make you a wedge. I mean, it's about $5, a little bit under. It's about 30%. So, the book's $14.97. So you can do the math. A bit under $5 for flogging an item. So if you did want to become an affiliate, click on that link. You just have to add an email address and your name. It's dead simple. And you can be on the process to becoming an affiliate, putting a link below the video, getting one of the QR codes and slap it on a sticker and sticking it out somewhere, as somebody has already started doing. Amazing. But nevertheless, it's nice to be in a position when somebody does their advert for Raycon, where they'll get a pittance for doing it, but at least they're getting paid, right? I can do the same, but offer it out to my audience so that they can become affiliates of something that I'm very proud of achieving in terms of an item that I can market and sell myself. So check out Measured Flat. Obviously, first and foremost, if you just wanted to read a copy, buy a copy. It's available now. Below this video, there's a link to the book itself. So if you wanted to buy a copy of Measured Flat and read about how Earth is measured flat rather than about poisoning the whale fallacies about Eric Dubay, then you can check out the material contained within. Links in the info box below this video.
So you're saying that this lady could also be an affiliate?
Anybody can be an affiliate.
Dan can be an affiliate?
The way I viewed it when I first had it pitched to me was if and when I go on people's shows. So at the moment, I'm doing a mail out, right? So I'm sending out press releases about the book's release. And the idea is that I encourage the person that's getting the mail out to have me on and talk about it. Now, my idea was that when I go on those shows, I can offer the facility to the person who's interviewing me to have the book linked below, but not just so that I benefit from the sale, they can get the same amount that I get. So in my mind, I pictured it as being a means for the person who's interviewing me to make money off the item that's going to be discussed on their show. Right, that was how I viewed it. What I didn't realise was there's loads of YouTubers out there, and most of them are. I'll need to do a shout out to Level Plain Poem. She's got a video coming out on someone else's channel when she's promoting her own material on the 13th. I'll come back to that. Shout out to Level Plain Poem. She's got a video coming up where she's interviewed. Anyway, but yeah, there's lots of YouTubers that just want a thing to sell. Now, the fact that some of them are flat earthers, some of them are not, and they just want to add an item to a list of stuff that they've got below their video so they can just make money. And you're like, more power to you. I just didn't necessarily imagine that it would be as popular as it has been immediately, because I haven't gone out and done any interviews yet. And I thought that's what it would facilitate. But on the contrary, random people who are making videos have gone, absolutely, I want a chunk of that. I'd love to have an affiliate link below my video. So loads of people have signed up, which is great. What were you going to say, John? What were you going to say, John? Disappeared. Not to worry.
By the name, these use off-ear audio, sending sound through vibrations. You've got stillclear.com/
a Lamborghini Storado, a Hennessy Velociraptor, a Ford Bronco, or 100,000.
Right, we will resume as soon as this advert's finished.
I'll take the Lambo.
Which described their attempt to find a method for calculating wind compensation for unguided missiles and rockets.
Wow, he really doesn't beat around the bush, does he? Apparently, I've said beat around the bush as a phrase 4 videos in a row. Quite possibly I need to get out more, update my lingo. Oh, I haven't turned on my flap flap. Or there's going to be people who are mad about that. Oh, my flap flap is nudging my granddad. Okay, hold on. There we go. They can live in harmony together. It's okay. Love that. Straight in.
Yeah.
Video
my
start.
Flap flaps. My flap flaps.
Look, let the chick talk about her flaps,
nudging,
okay?
No. And she's talking about her bush, beating around it. I've had enough.
She's talking about her bush. She's talking about her flaps.
1. He's got real enthusiastic delivery. Love introducing the paper, Calculation of Wind Compensation for Launching of Unguided Rockets, which is a study where they calculated wind compensation for the launching of unguided rockets. No, you don't say.
Page 8 of the report reads, "This simulation assumes a vehicle with 6 degrees of freedom and
God, God, I wish he had highlighted the bit that he was referencing. This simulation assumes a vehicle with 6 degrees of freedom and aerodynamic symmetry in roll, and the missile position in space is computed relative to flat, non-rotating Earth. Aha! Okay, so this is going to be the...
know the pattern? I see a pattern between the Simon, Dan's, Herd, and the like. They actually don't wait for a particular point to be made to address. Like, they just randomly stop anywhere and like, he didn't even get to make his point yet. What is there to comment on?
Well, if she can take over and say it on his behalf, she's then got control of the narrative, hasn't she? And that's the whole point of this.
For flat Earth.
Dynamic symmetry in roll, and the missile position in space is computed relative to a flat, non-rotating Earth. On page 11, the equations that follow are specified as being in the plane of the Earth. Why would a 53-page document dedicated to calculating precise equations for enabling missiles and rockets to find their targets on a spinning globe Earth...
Eric, what? It's right there, and you're asking why it wouldn't be spherical. That kind of annoys me a little bit, but... Should I now critique Eric? The demonstration is a flat Earth by prerequisite because it's using distance and altitude. So that's why. Ballistic trajectory is flat Earth. That's the measurements. Now, the fact that in this particular document they've explicitly stated that doesn't alter the prerequisite by necessity. That is to say, it wouldn't have to be explicitly noted that it's with respect to a flat plane. It is, by default, a flat Earth measurement of distance and altitude if you're talking about ballistic trajectory. Now, I understand that that's why Eric's highlighted it, because for the dumbos out there, it's explicitly saying it. It's quite forthright in the facts. But it doesn't have to be. Like distance, when I interrupted her poisoning the well fallacy to describe the horizontal linear distance and the variation of altitude with respect to the perpendicularity of the horizontal measured distance that Earth has been measured with. That's how you describe ballistic trajectory. It's distance and altitude. Simple. If you want to describe it with respect to a third dimension of the direction, that would be horizontal azimuth. Like which way it's going, horizontal degrees from north. So, fundamentally, this requires flat Earth. But so does everything that's ever measured with respect to Earth. This isn't like one, wow, we've got a NASA example. Every single Earth measurement ever made was flat. Now, you might be watching this going, he seems very nonchalant about this. Yeah, I am, because it's a fact. There will never, ever be any measurement ever given to you or me or anybody else that isn't with respect to a flat planar surface. That's how measurements are made. This is no exception. Like I say, the only difference with this is it's explicitly stating that it's with respect to a flat plane.
Instead, make all their calculations relative to a flat, non-rotating Earth plane.
Yeah, the calculations are irrelevant, though, as far as I am concerned, because you can then convert the measurements into spherical coordinate systems to infer and imply that that is the derived value in the first instance, but it isn't. Now, we didn't necessarily cover the floating Cartesian systems involved with GPS on yesterday's show, which I had intended to. It massively overran. But these systems fundamentally rely on Cartesian systems to exist. So it doesn't matter if it's ballistic trajectory described by NASA or an aeroplane in flight level. All of them are going to describe the same systems, the same coordinates, the same ground positions, the same elevation angles, the same sea level, the same surface level, the same altitude and azimuth. They're all using the same system. Earth's measured flat. There's no getting away from it. Doesn't need explicitly stating.
Because the effect that the rotation of the Earth has on the calculations is...
What rotation of the Earth? There is no rotation of the Earth. This is something we covered yesterday. You're automatically assuming that there's this premise that's borne out by what evidentiary standard that you're now appealing to? You haven't appealed to one. AKA, this is a begging the question fallacy on her part.
Is negligible. It's as simple as that. Try and think of an analogy. It's a bit...
Are you saying that there's a negligible effect when you're suggesting that there's Earth rotation? Is she as dumb as the bimbo we covered yesterday? There's a suggestion that Earth rotation is demonstrated by a 15 degrees an hour deviation, observable from a non-inertial claimed to be turning Earth, that we do not observe. Now, I'll agree with you when you say negligible. That is what you affirming that nothing's noticed, there's nothing to see. Yeah, but the globe doesn't claim that. The globe explicitly suggests that there's a 15-degree deviation to observe. That's what the globe claims. So you don't know your own rhetoric. You're as dumb as the bimbo we covered yesterday.
Bit like if you and a friend were casually measuring how long it takes you to walk down a street.
Down a street? Down would be a vertical description with respect to a horizontal distance. This would be rise over run. To walk down a street means that you've got a slope. A slope is calculated with a horizontal distance and a deviation in the vertical. That's what down means. Down is a planar, flat earth only description. So you're immediately using a false equivalence because it's explicit. What it said is not just subtle, it's overt. And you've taken it to a false equivalence that uses flat planar descriptions of going down something. The street was measured on the map. It's flat. Its distance is linear and horizontal. And if there's any topographical deviation in the vertical, that's going down a street, then you will describe that from the horizontal measured linear distance. So I'm going to take that flat earth prerequisite that you're appealing to by false equivalence to overcome Eric Dubay's discovery of explicit denotation of the flat earth prerequisites in black and white that you've ignored to go to this flat earth measurement instead. So Eric Dubay's offered you a flat earth measurement. You've gone, I'm going to slap that out your hand and put another flat earth measurement of going down a street. Yeah, we've measured all the streets. Their distance is horizontal. A flat earth only surveyed distance. So don't appeal to this, my love. You're appealing to flat earth measurements. It's embarrassing. Use your noggin, my love. No, don't appeal to flat earth measured distances and rise over run. Yeah, that's not using your noggin, love. Not at all.
And there was no perceptible wind that you could feel, and your friend was just measuring on their phone. You probably wouldn't take into account drag or the velocity of the wind, because that as a factor is so small that it's basically inconsequential to the way that you're measuring it. It just makes things simpler. First of all, having now seen this first one, I suspect that the points in all 50 documents might be the same thing, where they've just said, you know, the rotation.
So what do you mean? You haven't addressed the point in the document. It explicitly said Earth to be treated as a plane. Did I miss something? Am I hallucinating? Did she in any way, shape or form? Did she in any way, shape or form actually address what Eric covered?
No, she ignored it. She ignored the document.
You completely ignored what Eric put on the table. Now, I was critiquing it based on its redundancy. You don't need to say Earth's measured flat in it. It does, explicitly, and you still ignored it. Me, I'd appeal to things that were far more subtle, like rise over run, like the drop over the distance of your street, just to make you seem as stupid as you are when you appeal to flat Earth measurements. That's much more fun for me.
Just like Simon Dan, look at her note all of these unimportant things throughout his, commentary, only to not address the point at all. How bad of a sharpshooter do you have to be
Unless
with the target
Eli,
right in front of you, and you're shooting everything else?
Unless Eli, when she's saying that the movement is negligible, maybe that's what she's talking about by the non-rotating surface that Eric Dubay brought up. I don't know.
Flat non-rotating isn't subtle. It's explicit, isn't it? She's not addressed it.
Rotation of the Earth, the shape of the Earth, is a negligible factor here, so we're not factoring that into our mathematics. I think that might be every point in this video. I have this strong suspicion.
Wait. I was under the impression that this video was something about 50 documents that prove the Earth's a globe. Am I under a misapprehension?
No, she's got 50 documents that prove flat earther is an idiot, with a terrible sentence.
Oh, okay. Because, she, like you said, she's not addressing any of the points at all. She's saying, of course we didn't use a globe, basically.
A lot of flat earth YouTubers are always exaggerating in their terminology.
That's a stereotyping fallacy.
The Earth is spinning
Second of
wildly.
all, where's the exaggeration?
Hold on a
He's
second,
just
Eli.
reading the document.
She's just
What's
said.
the exaggeration?
Well, she's just used a stereotype to say that flat earthers exaggerate, and then her example is to describe a globe Earth paradigm. So you see how when I say in a scientific category area, you've got people who believe in a globe, and then people who say it's not a globe, labelled flat earthers. And when she says by stereotype they exaggerate, she then describes the exaggerated heliocentric motion speeds that a flat earther would be talking about. My name's Nathan Oakley, love. I'm a flat earther. When I talk about Earth being flat, I will explicitly detail things like a street and moving down it. To quote you specifically, and the use of Earth's measurements when surveying the topographical deviation that's going down a street with respect to the horizontal measured distance. That's rise over run. That's me not over-exaggerating heliocentric motion speeds, but detailing how Earth has been measured for your example that came out of your mouth. Notice how I'm addressing directly the words that you have used, as opposed to giving an example in a completely different category from a completely different group, and then stereotyping an entire group of people in terms of how they exaggerate. Now, I've already done it in terms of describing you as a tomboy, suggesting that you're, ignored by men, possibly having to step one rung down, only go after women, yeah, other tomboys, yeah. I've done all that already, haven't I? Yeah. That is to say, not address, only to hold a mirror up to what you're doing, the facts that have come out of your mouth. But I don't need to when I'm actually addressing the words that you've used. Down the street, you say? Yeah, it's a flat earth measurement by prerequisite. A drop in the vertical with respect to a horizontal measured surveyed distance for the street itself, as per the maps and scales.
Suspicion. I also think that's why a lot of flat earth YouTubers are always exaggerating in their terminology.
I tend to find that a lot of tomboy-looking girls end up with about half a dozen cats, ignored by all men, with cobwebs in their fanny, having never reproduced. I mean, it's just a general stereotype when you see ugly women with short haircuts that look like lesbians. Just a general stereotype.
The Earth is spinning wildly. It's a spinning ball.
Why would a flat earther be talking about how the ball functions? Is it just me, or does your stereotype involve your own bullshit exaggerations from your own projected worldview that you've now got your opponent, that's a flat earther in this instance, detailing? Now, flat earth is earth, that's terra firma, and its flatness. A ball spinning, that's nothing to do with flat earth. You're just misrepresenting an entire stereotype group. Scummy.
Well, the atmosphere
she's actually kind of representing it, sort of correct. Flat earthers and name only anti-ballers are saying that, yes, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Her paradigm is saying that's way over exaggerated. It's just once per 24 hours. Don't you know that rotation speed is only once per 24 hours as they fart sniff at each other? So she's correct in the stereotype that the flat earthers exaggerate their paradigm, the globe's paradigm, because it's uncomfortable. That's why the see too far stuff, that's just exaggerating. You're just seeing, the see too far stuff is an exaggeration. We've got refraction. So, in a backwards kind of way, she's right.
I agree. And that just happened in real time. If you remember, Surf Daddy, it was Hawk that was talking about the vast and crazy movements. And you had to say to him, you're talking about it.
Yep.
It's dragging along. They have to make it sound like something that you couldn't possibly ignore. Like, it can't possibly be happening, or we'd feel it. We'd notice it. We'd be sick if we were spinning around, Whereas in reality, our everyday experiences and the measurements we need to make in our everyday experiences at short ranges, they don't need to factor in the rotation of the Earth's orbit, because...
Wait, orbit, you say? Orbit is a derived flat Earth... Oh, my God. Go ahead.
I was going to say, she's going local. So
she's undermining her own...
measure it locally flat.
She's undermining her own rhetoric. So she's saying you wouldn't notice. Like, you wouldn't have to factor in this exaggerated speed that flat earthers say that the globe has. Number one, flat earthers talking about your own paradigm. That is to say, using your opponent as they steelman your position incorrectly according to you by stereotype. I haven't done that. Now, what I suggest is that the globe Earth that I understand in terms of the rhetoric that's used is suggested to have a 15 degrees an hour deviation, as Earth is suggested to turn underneath an inertial frame of reference as a non-inertial turning frame of reference. That's not, we wouldn't really notice, we don't have to factor it in. That's a claimed 15 degrees an hour deviation. Simple. Not, oh, well, maybe today we don't need it. No, that's what is suggested to be the case. Now, it isn't. We don't observe any effects. At some fundamental level, you obviously appreciate that because you're saying it's okay to not justify it. We don't notice, therefore, the speed we definitely experience just isn't noticeable. No, you've got a vestibulary system, like I explained yesterday to the bimbo that also did the exact same thing. Dumb as all shit, like you. No, you think that when you're moving, you don't notice. Yeah, you've got an inner ear that tells you when you're moving. But according to you, when in orbital motion is a derived flat Earth extrapolated mathematics. In order to derive Kepler-Huygens Copernicus orbital motion in an ellipse, then you require Earth to be measured flat for the elevation angles and azimuth of these lights. For the Roman Catholic extrapolation of heliocentric orbital motion, it's reliant on flat Earth measurements by prerequisite so that you can invent this system.
It is negligible. It'd just be adding time.
It's just 15 degrees an hour by the heliocentric claim. Not negligible, you dumbass. You don't know your own religion. The fact that this contravenes it, is in complete opposition to it, doesn't mean that it's suddenly negligible. Your globe claim comes with a 15 degrees an hour deviation. That's not negligible, okay? It doesn't happen. It just means it's debunked. The claim fails. It doesn't mean that you can justify it by apologetics and say it's negligible. No, it's 15 degrees an hour of a non-inertial turning globe Earth surface, demonstrating not actual deflection in an inertial frame of reference at a rate of 15 degrees an hour, you dumbo.
Tiny numbers that wouldn't affect...
Tiny numbers of 15 degrees an hour and 1,000 miles an hour rim velocity. You think they're negligible? No, I don't think so, love. I think we'd notice if it were true, and we don't. That just means it's not true. The only suggested proof of Earth's rotation, the claim of a not negligible, 15 degrees an hour deviation from a non-inertial turning reference frame. Not a negligible, I'm just going to say you wouldn't notice shite. That just makes you ignorant of your own globe Earth claim that fails.
Our calculations, so we simplify them.
Or do we? Is that what we do? No, I don't think so. I think when we measure Earth flat with horizontal linear distances and drop over those horizontal distances, we've surveyed them with millimetre accuracy. No oversimplifications required when we measure Earth flat. We've surveyed every smegging inch of it, love.
It really is as easy as that.
2. A NASA technical paper published in 1963 called Trajectory Simulation Applicable to Stability and Control Studies.
I want you to...
Trajectory is distance with respect to azimuth and altitude. That's what trajectory means. It's a Cartesian description. It will appear as it is measured, with horizontal linear distances and perpendicular altitude changes and azimuthal directionality. I've already covered this. We're talking about ballistic trajectory. By prerequisite, these are and can only be described with a flat plane. There's only one reason NASA explicitly detail this as being planar, because it is.
Guess before everyone whether it's the same thing that at like short to mid-range distances.
Sorry, short to mid-range distances that we've got measurements for, yeah, they're flat. So when I rely on talking about how flat Earth is measured as opposed to what a massive lesbian you look like and how you will undoubtedly end up childless, I talk about the horizontal distance measurements. Now saying, oh, you're just repeating yourself. Well, yeah, it's worth repeating when we've got flat Earth measurements. Yeah? When we've got the receipts for how flat it's measured, I'm going to labour that point. Are you going to suggest that because it's repeated that it's suddenly invalid? Oh, well, if you talk about how flat Earth's measured more than once, it becomes a globe. No, it doesn't. Furthermore, your calculations that you keep appealing to are extracted from these flat Earth Cartesian systems of distance altitude, and azimuth. That's how the globe comes into existence. So you're decrying things that are foundationally reliant for your globe faith to exist. Maybe you don't realise that.
They've not factored in the rotation of the Earth because...
Sorry, the negligible rotation at 15 degrees an hour that you said is negligible. If they factored it in, then we'd have a 15 degrees an hour deviation that does not occur. That's why they're not factoring it in, because it doesn't exist. If it did, we'd notice not how negligible it was, but how 15 degrees an hour it was. Yeah? Dumbo.
It's a negligible factor.
Sorry, a negligible factor or 15 degrees an hour of deviation from a non-inertial turning reference frame. You are moronic. You have no idea how your own religion works, do you? You're just pissing in the wind.
You could do it as a drinking game, but I think that could be dangerous.
Drinking? What, whenever you demonstrate yourself idiotic, we'd be pissed immediately.
And I don't endorse that kind of shit, okay? Get yourself a nice apple juice.
Of large multi-engine vehicles, described doing computational modeling and analysis of how heavy multi-engine platforms, such as aircraft or large boosters, behave along their flight paths. The report admits on page 6 that a flat, non-rotating Earth is assumed for this study. The Encyclopedia Britannica defines assumption as something that is believed to be true or probably true.
That's probably why it's there detailed in this way, Eric, so they can detail it as though it's an assumption that can be mitigated for. No, we've got trajectory details, distance, altitude, and azimuth. That is how it works. When you find out how far it's flown, you'll reference it to its distance. When you find out how high it's flown, you'll find out its altitude from surface or sea level. And when you find out what direction it flew in, you'll look at the azimuthal degrees from north with respect to the positional information in a Cartesian system. That is how it's done. So it goes without saying that Earth is flat and non-rotating. They're saying it because they're the arbiters of this religious viewpoint that we are spherical and are rotating, in spite of every ballistic trajectory ever documented ever being measured with respect to a plane. It can't not be. We've only got horizontal measurements of distance. We've only got altitude from sea level. That's all we ever use. We've only got flat Earth measurements to pull from. That's it. Earth's measured flat.
It's just Eric Dubay insulting his audience by assuming they need a dictionary definition of the word.
There you go, Neil.
Are those measurements you're talking about assumptions, or are they measurements?
Well, if you're going to assume that this ballistic trajectory has some sort of consequences attached, like if you get it wrong, it might smash into someone's house, then yeah, I'm going to go with that they measured it quite accurately so they can assess the actual trajectory rather than saying, oh, well, we'll just guess and it's an assumption of the... No, they measure the distance, Neil.
I would also add that the assumption means exactly, goes without saying, so much so that in these technical papers, and I've read through several of them because I was once a heliocentric ninja, and I read through them. What these technical papers are doing are what all white papers tend to do, or research papers, or even term papers and doctoral stuff, is they come up with a citation that goes without saying because Burns and Murphy said in 1927 XYZ. That goes without saying. We're doing shorthand for Burns and Murphy said flat and non-rotational in 1927, and we're using that assumption. That goes without saying. Every one of these papers starts out, and in their summary says they're using, and I'm just Burns and Murphy, I'm just, that's just made up name, but basically they're all saying by citation, Burns and Murphy 27, flat and non-rotating. We're using this assumption because this has worked forever, and this is what we plug into everything. So that's where I finally decided, that's where the plausible deniability comes into play. They're all just citing Burns and Murphy and then doing their little numbers and doing their little tests based on those assumptions. And it's worked for decades, and it'll work for more decades. No one gives a crap about whether the Earth is a ball or flat. But this is what they got to do to make it work in reality. So she's going to go to, unless she's already gone to it and I missed it, she's just going to start going to all of the descriptions of bodies and non-weight, all the descriptions of the types of basic flight model that they're using. And she's going to hand wave that. Just as a way to get around the fact that every one of these documents, there is 40 or 50 of them, that cite Burns and Murphy, 1927, flat and non-rotation. That's how it works.
Word assumption? Is this him wangling away to say that assumption means the thing is true? Just because you're assuming for the purpose.
No, the measurement shows that it's true. So in terms of trajectory, it's horizontal distance and perpendicular altitude, together with azimuth for directionality. Those are flat Earth only measurements. So it's not that, well, because NASA said it. No, those are the standards that your side use. NASA say we've got a sky vacuum in violation of natural law, therefore there's men flying around in a sky vacuum, in a mathematical orbital motion that's derived from flat Earth prerequisites and elevation angles, measuring lights of the sky. That's your standard that your side employ. Now, that's not me stereotyping. That's with 12 years of experience of watching your side say NASA said it, therefore it's true. We've got pictures from space. That's your standard. Like I say, there's no way anybody's going to hold me to stereotyping as a fallacy when I can demonstrably show thousands of examples of your side going, well, we've got pictures of space. Okay, so therefore, because NASA said it, you're going to take it as read. Yes, is the answer. In this instance, well, NASA say it, but we're not going to take it as read. Why not? There isn't any necessity to anyway.
Purposes of some equation that in this situation it's a static, non-rotating Earth doesn't mean that extrapolates out to reality.
You take over, someone's at my door.
So it's not reality. How convenient. But the pictures from space, as Jen Panda would say, we've got thousands of them. Thousands of them. That's reality.
Yeah, no, it's their idea of what is real and what isn't real is only shaped by what they believe. And what they believe can't be challenged in reality.
Right, but our reality relies on measurements. Right?
All realities rely on measurements. You must.
So if you can measure it, you have a knowledge of it. So therefore, Earth is measured flat.
Yep, it's real.
Definition of
Yeah,
assumption.
Jim, companies don't want to hear it anymore. They don't want to hear measurements.
No, because it's been gone on it's been going on as read or without being said for so long. You know, just like I was saying with the guys who are citing the flat and non-rotating, they don't have a problem citing that because they know that they have to cite whatever their sources are for the shorthand, for all the calculations, for everything having to do with flight. And that's been decided since the 20s, 30s, 40s. And all you got to do
easier that way.
Yeah, well, it's easy. Yeah, yes. And that's why they can say with a straight face that it's just easier because Barnes and Noble, 1927, figured that out. They're just going back to Eratosthenes only less time ago. Barnes and Noble figured that out. We've got the citation. We just plug that citation in there and we get our grants. And we can do our tests.
If I had a conspiracy theorist bingo card, the use of legal definitions in arguments would definitely be on there. I don't know why they do it. It's totally bizarre. You don't debate science in a court of law.
What the bloody hell are you babbling about? Science? This is not. We are not establishing the cause of natural phenomena. Yeah? The physical and natural world, that's physics, right? It is the elucidation of cause and effect. That's science. That's experimentation based on hypothesis after observing phenomena in nature. This is not that. When you describe measuring Earth as a non-rotating plane, that's how you just measure it. Well, you're saying you can't bring a legal standard. What are you talking about? Nobody's in a court. Nobody's suing anybody. What are you babbling about?
An assertion of statement that is taken as true or supposed as fact. If Earth is actually a spinning ball, why would NASA assume a flat, non-rotating Earth?
NASA isn't...
I already covered this. Because that's how it's being measured. That's why. Simple.
Assuming a flat, non-rotating Earth...
No, they're not assuming it. You're right. They're measuring it that way with distances that are horizontal and perpendicular altitudes from sea level. They're measuring it that way. No assumption.
Based on the definition, the legal definition that he is...
No, well, you might assume that Eric's suggesting a legal definition. No, he's just reading out words from NASA when describing ballistic trajectory. That's measurements. You're in a complete category error.
Just provided. NASA doesn't say, okay,
why are you telling us what NASA doesn't say? We've got documents that show what they do say, and you're telling us what they don't. My God.
Get everything we know, that we know irrefutably based on so much evidence.
NASA don't say anything about how many cats women like this end up with, do they? They haven't said anything about the number of cats they end up with. And why don't NASA talk about how many cats women who talk shite get into? I don't get it. Well, meanwhile, they do talk about Earth being non-rotating in a plane, because that's what the measurements will be.
Across different fields and physical evidence in front of your own very eyes.
What, like measurements of miles? Those sorts of physical evidence in front of your very eyes? Yeah, we've got those. They're called maps. They've got scales on them. We've got rise over run. We've got surveying. Earth's been measured.
Despite all of that evidence...
Sorry, what evidence? That you've just said this is what NASA don't say. You think that's evidence? You're delusional.
To make our equations
didn't give us any
easy...
evidence.
She didn't give us...
She's just saying evidence.
No, she hasn't. She hasn't given us anything at all. She said that there's a negligible rotation that we wouldn't need to account for. Literally the standard of yesterday's bimbo.
Yeah, we're going to agree that the Earth is flat. That's not what...
No, we're going to measure it that way. Yeah, when you're dealing with ballistic trajectory, do you think there's a men in a room huddled around a table agreeing and disagreeing about Earth's shape? No. Number one, the shape is irrelevant. It's a planar measurement. That's an aspect of Earth that's used for the measurements of ballistic trajectory.
What this means? It just means...
Also, Nathan.
Say again?
The people in the room, you've just assumed their gender.
the guys around the desk.
That, again, there is so little effect of the rotation of the Earth.
Sorry, the 15 degrees an hour deviation that would definitely be suggested by heliocentrists to be observable. This negligible 15 degrees an hour deviation from a non-inertial turning reference frame observed from the point of view of you rotating beneath in a frame of reference that's inertial. That negligible bullshit that we don't see. No, it's negligible because there aren't any effects, but there is definitely a suggestion of a 15 degrees an hour deviation that we're supposed to see. It's not supposed to be negligible. It's got a number ascribed to it by heliocentrists. Oh my God. How dumb is this chick?
Seen in the scale that we're doing this, whatever, experiment.
I see. So at the scale of anything 15 degrees... No, that doesn't change at any scale. Yeah?
Study.
Oh, why have we got a lost connection? Live stream suddenly got glitchy. No data. What's going on?
You have to feed your hamster.
I've got gigabit internet. Right, it's back on.
Shall I plug in another lemon in?
No, it's all good.
That we don't need to factor it in. So this maths assumes a flat stationary Earth. Because it can, and that won't affect our studies. That does.
Why wouldn't that affect your studies? It's just a statement of absolute fact, my love. When you say, yeah, this study assumes Earth is flat, yeah, for it to work with the measurements of the flat plane that are being measured for ballistic trajectory. Yeah? So when you say it wouldn't affect anything, No, you've got it arse about face. If it wasn't flat, there'd be deviations in the vertical measured with respect to the horizontal linear distances that they'd definitely have to account for. As an example, if you've got a planar description of a distance and you've got a valley, that is to say, in front of the measured distance, there's a cavity opening up ahead of the ballistic trajectory of the missile, then there's an area below the horizontal flight path that the missile could potentially enter. That is to say, it's critically important for ballistic trajectory to know whether or not the ground beneath your feet in the vertical is falling away from you or not. Because that's areas of space that the missile could enter if they existed. That is to say, if there was a 8 inches per mile drop of Earth curve, that would be an area that the missile could occupy. But obviously, in order to infer this spherical suggestion of a deviating vertical at 8 inches per flat Earth measured mile to be true, then the missile's got areas that it can occupy that they're being explicitly told to not assume is the case. So saying, take the world to be straight, no deviation in the vertical, giving you areas that you can occupy as a ballistic trajectory. Very important if you're figuring out where the hell the missile's going. But according to you, it's just negligible rotation and negligible when it comes to the Earth curve that they're not accounting for. No, there's a specific and explicit reason why they're not accounting for your religious belief. It's because they're measuring Earth and it's flat.
Does not mean that we temporarily assume that the Earth is flat.
That's exactly what it said! Are you this retarded? It explicitly says that. So what you're saying is, even though they explicitly detail how flat Earth is to be considered, that doesn't mean we should consider it to be exactly as explicitly stated. Based on what fucktard logic?
It doesn't change the reality outside of the equation.
The equation is based on flat Earth measurements. So what, it doesn't change the reality outside of the flat measurements? No, the equations would be based on the measurements. And if they're not, then they've got nothing to do with reality.
All right, that's 2 for 2 so far.
So, sorry, you're taking some sort of perceived victory. What, 2 for 2 cats that you'll end up with?
48 to go.
3.
48 cats that you'll end up with. Good. Good, whoever that was.
You clicked play, and that was Eric's one word that sounded
was it?
like someone from... Yeah.
Okay.
The Georgia Institute of Technology prepared a document for NASA in 1965 titled Atmospheric Oscillations, providing theories and equations of...
Well, that's a problem straight off the bat. Atmosphere is an oxymoron. Atmo means air. Sphere is a shape. Gases, that's air, atmo, take the shape of their containment. You don't have sphere-shaped air. Nobody's farting and watching their gases turn into a sphere shape. Gases distribute through whatever availability of volume they have available to them. They don't form sphere shapes arbitrarily. So this is using an oxymoronic description from the outset.
Of why barometric pressure fluctuations...
Barometric pressure? Anybody, 10 points, who can say where barometric pressure is measured with respect to?
That is measured from a flat planar reference.
Mean sea level, it's from mean sea level.
Oh yeah, barometric pressure is a flat Earth measurement from sea level, because all altitudes are always measured from a flat Earth. Again, it doesn't need NASA to say barometric pressure from sea level will assume Earth is flat. That's redundant. It's not necessary. It's a measurement perpendicular to a plane. So the measurement requires flat Earth by prerequisite. It's a perpendicular altitude from sea level. Does it need NASA to say, well, that means it's flat? No, it doesn't need that. It just is flat.
Happen throughout the day at various latitudes.
Latitudes, you say? What, elevation angle measurements from surface level? Yeah, these are flat Earth by prerequisite. It's those altitude angles, like azimuth and altitude, that are detailed earlier, that are required by prerequisite for ballistic trajectory. Now we're describing it with respect to the systems that we use for navigation. Latitude, measured off a flat Earth with degrees.
On page 10, the document states, a model frequently used is that of a flat, non-rotating Earth. And
in Albion, no matter where...
The most one can profitably...
Say again.
You enjoying Bimbo Week?
Bimbo Week?
Simplify the problem is to consider an isothermal atmosphere, plane level surfaces, and a non-rotating Earth.
I mean, they've answered the question for you there. That they've said this is the way to simplify the problem. That's
sorry, problem? Did it say problem? Where does it say problem?
You put that in there.
Ding, 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 ding. Simplify. Bingo, bingo.
So I don't see where it says that. It doesn't say that. She's just misrepresenting the document. It did not say that. So she's just making shit up.
On the second line from the bottom, mate.
What does it say?
Second line from the bottom.
Okay, simplify the problem.
Oh yeah, it does say that. You're right. I'll take it back.
Yeah.
To simplify the problem is to consider an isothermal atmosphere, plane level surfaces, and a non-rotating Earth.
What problem? So the problem of having flat Earth measurements? That sort of problem.
I mean, they've answered the question for you there. That they've said this is the way to simplify the problem. That's exactly what. That's 3 for 3 now. It's exactly what we said earlier. The fact that the Earth moves.
So what did you say earlier? How does this in any way debunk the notion of the measurements that are being utilised in this example? You said, oh, well, we've said it earlier. What did you say? What explicitly undermines this, according to you?
And rotates, affects our study here minimally.
Back to this. So it's a minimal 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth is suggested to rotate underneath an inertial frame of reference. Minimally. No, you're just making shit up.
So the simplest way to discuss it is to not factor those things in.
Sorry, the simplest way is to not factor in the 15 degrees an hour that you've not mentioned and are saying is negligible. No, if it was a factor, you'd absolutely unequivocally require it. If the suggestion that Earth is turning underneath footballs that are suggested by Tyson curve through goalposts because according to him, Earth rotates underneath the football, then Earth is rotating underneath the missile. Now, the missile, unlike a football, stays in the air for a considerable period of time. And if Earth's rotating underneath it at 15 degrees an hour, then you'd notice. But to simplify the problem of not noticing it happen, because it doesn't, they don't account for it. Therefore, what? That's an explanation and an apologetic for it not fricking happening? It just doesn't happen. So there's no simplification. If nothing's happening, you don't have to worry about it or account for it. If it did happen, then you'd be accounting for the globe Earth's claim of a 15 degrees an hour deviation. And they're not. That doesn't mean it's negligible. It means it's debunked, because it doesn't happen. For you to have your paradigm, Earth is rotating underneath an inertial frame of reference at 15 degrees an hour. That's not negligible. And you would have to account for it if it was real. The reality, they don't, because it isn't.
That doesn't obviously that doesn't in any way mean that the Earth doesn't actually rotate.
Oh, doesn't it? When they don't account for rotation, don't factor it into the mathematics, haven't got Earth turning underneath a ballistic missile, it doesn't mean it's not rotating. So just because we're not probing the temperature of Earth as a giant roast chicken, just because it's not necessarily accounted for being in the oven at 200 degrees C, doesn't mean Earth's not a roast chicken.
Just means that it doesn't matter for the sake of this problem. If you
The problem of what? Not accounting for it. How is not accounting for something a problem? Either it happens and you account for it, and then you account for it. It's not problematic. Yeah? It's not you and your number of cats. It's not me misgendering somebody. It's not problematic. It's either accounted for or not. In this case, it's not accounted for. a 15 degrees an hour alleged rotation of Earth underneath an inertial frame of reference, causing gyroscopes to deviate at 15 degrees an hour, or pendulums to deviate at 15 degrees an hour, or footballs to deviate at 15 degrees an hour as they curve through goalposts. Those are suggestions, lies, that we've got a 15 degrees an hour deviation that we have to account for, that you can mathematise into existence if you're Neil deGrasse Tyson, or you can suggest it's demonstrated with a pendulum if you're Foucault, or you can say it's negligible if you're dealing with things that might actually kill people. Then you don't account for them. But what's that, my love? That doesn't mean we're not rotating. Oh, we can ignore the effects we're supposed to have because we don't have them. Doesn't mean we're not rotating. Just because we're not probing Earth and measuring its temperature with respect to the oven that we're in, doesn't mean we're not a roast chicken.
Simplify it as much as possible.
The document.
It's not being simplified, it's being measured. We're not simplifying ballistic trajectory, my dear. We're measuring it with respect to a plane with horizontal distances and perpendicular altitudes with respect to azimuthal horizontal directionality, all of which are flat Earth by prerequisite.
The document later considers implications and equations for a spherical Earth, but concludes that, quote, general large effects were better described using the flat stationary Earth model. If Earth was actually a spinning sphere, all effects, large and small, general and specific, should be better described as such.
Well,
yeah, or to put it another way, if Earth is claimed to be turning at 15 degrees an hour with observable Coriolis deflection at that rate, then Earth is turning underneath items in the inertial frame of reference which a missile would be. Ergo, you'd have to frickin' account for it.
Well, yeah, it depends what you mean by better.
Well, not better, just measured. If it's there, you measure it. If it's not there, you don't need to worry about it. What are we doing? Are we worrying about 15 degrees an hour deviation of Earth turning underneath stuff like missiles? No, we're not! That's the reality here. It's in black and white.
If you mean more accurately?
Sorry, more accurately, how much measurement accuracy do you need? You either measure it to be there or you don't. Can you get more accurate not measuring it? No, I don't think so. They just don't account for it because it doesn't happen. There's nothing to measure. Now, it's suggested there's 15 degrees an hour to measure, but they're not. It is just that simple.
Then yes, that's 100% correct. But the paper was very specific. The simplest way to describe this.
Describe what? They're not measuring anything. They're with respect to the measurements of the trajectory. If Earth's turning underneath that trajectory, they absolutely would measure it. At a rate they suggest they'll see. That's 15 degrees an hour that they're just not seeing, therefore not measuring. They don't have to simplify anything. There's nothing to simplify. There's no rotation to measure. So what they're going to how are they going to simplify it? What measurement have they simplified? Oh, there isn't one. There's no simplification here, love. There just isn't any deflection.
Is using a stationary model. Whether you're describing the most accurate or the simplest will change whether you factor in the shape of the Earth.
No. Rotational velocity isn't the shape. Right. No, furthermore, angles with respect to a plane for altitude, distance in horizontal orientation for azimuth and distance aren't something that you can just ignore. Those are the measurements.
And its rotation.
4. A NASA document from 1971 titled A Method for Reducing the Sensitivity of Optimal Nonlinear Systems to Parameter Uncertainty details a number of equations and algorithms meant to find the optimal trajectory for a single-stage rocket vehicle starting from rest and going to specified terminal conditions of altitude and vertical velocity.
There it is. Altitude. Perpendicular to sea level measurement. Verticality with respect to horizontality. Perpendicular measured from an average mean called sea level. That's what altitude means. So again, did NASA need to explicitly say that altitude's a flat Earth prerequisite measurement perpendicular to sea level? No, that's just what it is. So it goes without saying that this is a flat Earth measurement, hence they haven't said it.
Which will maximize the final horizontal velocity. On page 14...
Horizontal velocity, you say? As in the distance with respect to the time for acceleration and velocity? Yeah, you'd need a horizontal distance, though, wouldn't you? Yes, again, it goes without saying that Earth will be measured flat for this, because it can't be measured any other way.
of the document, it is admitted that the idealizing assumptions made include a flat, non-rotating Earth.
It can't work any other way. Horizontal distance, perpendicular altitude, azimuth from north. That's how it works. In all circumstances and without exception, Earth will always and can only be measured flat.
If Earth was actually a spinning globe and not a flat stationary plane, surely these complex equations and algorithms for optimal rocket trajectories would have to take this into account.
Well, no. Taking into account something that defies the axiomatic principle of horizontal directionality for linear directions, speeds, velocities, and altitudes perpendicular to that horizontal ascribed distance are, by prerequisite, only capable of descriptions in the planar. That's how they are being described and measured. So when you say, if it was a ball, would have to... No, then it would violate the axiom of the distance and the altitude. So it can't be.
Well, why are you picking on the shape of the Earth? Let's look at the other factors here. The idealizing assumptions also include a point mass vehicle, a flat, non-rotating Earth, a constant gravity field, which the Earth does not have, constant thrust and mass loss rate, which the vehicle is not going to have perfectly constant thrust. So all of that is to say that, yes, these might be complex equations. I think Eric Dubay and I know probably about the same amount about whether these are particularly complex or not, which is...
The complexity of the equations are based on flat Earth measurements, though. So you can say we can convert these measurements every which way that you can possibly dissect a flat Earth measurement into a spherical coordinate system as a sake of example. But it doesn't change that the basis of the measurements in the first instance are flat. Talking about horizontal linear distance and perpendicular altitude from sea level. That's it. That's all you've got.
There, Nathan.
Say again?
Sorry. You've got your thumbnail right there.
Very good.
The same reason that this problem is considered with the assumptions of a flat non-rotating Earth is the reasons that it's considered with a vehicle that has constant thrust and mass loss rate and a constant drag parameter. It's to simplify it. It's kind of absurd to look at this series of simplifications and say, well, how can they possibly use that one simplification? How can they justify that one simplification if the world is actually more complex than that? Well, vehicles are more complex than that, but they've simplified the thrust to make it easier, to simplify, because it's negligible in this context. It's that easy.
5. A NASA report from 1972 entitled Determination of Angles of Attack and Side Slip from Radar Data and a Roll Stable...
Radar data is horizontal. Angle is with respect to a plane. These are flat Earth prerequisites. Again, does NASA need to say explicitly that angle of attack is with respect to a plane? No, it's a prerequisite requirement for it to be described.
Stabilized platform, stated on page 2 that equations for angles of attack and side slip relative to both a rolling and non-rolling body axis system are derived for a flight vehicle.
Everything being detailed is planar. Roll, yaw, axes, all of these are described with respect to a plane. Every single measurement is planar.
Vehicle for which radar and gyroscopic attitude data are available.
Attitude data, planar.
The method is limited, however, to application where a flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed.
Meaning, exactly what it says.
Yeah.
This method...
No, meaning that it's measured flat. Yeah? When you're describing roll, yaw, distance, altitude, everything is measured planar. So it's not like it needs to be stated overtly as it is being, although that does make it that much clearer for the dumbos in the audience, but it is redundant. It doesn't have to be stated. Distances are going to be horizontal still. Altitudes are going to be measured from sea level still. They are going to be perpendicular by axiom, regardless. Who's off mute? Go ahead. Whoever it wants to add something in Discord. Daniel, go ahead.
Mic discipline.
Daniel, go ahead. Daniel, Daniel, you're in a live show. Daniel, hello, Daniel.
Daniel-san.
Hello, Daniel. My God.
Is limited to these assumptions in order to simplify it. I think that wording, because for some reason, needling precise terminology is a very important part of pretending the Earth is flat.
Sorry, we're measuring it. Horizontal distances, altitudes from sea level, azimuth. That's how it's being measured for ballistic trajectory.
I think that terminology is more suggestive of the fact that the Earth is not flat and non-rotating.
Really, what measurements would you be utilising to describe how much deviation you've got, that's curvature, from the horizontal distance? Do you want to lay out some actual measurements so we can actually verify your assumptions? Or are you just going to suggest that because they're measuring it flat, that means that we can assume it's ball-shaped, of course?
I don't know, tell me what you think, but to me this reads pretty clearly as obviously the Earth is an oblate spheroid.
So when it says we're going to be measuring it flat, we'll deal with it as flat and non-rotating, you read between the lines, obviously spheroid. I see. That's very interesting.
We know what software update she's on because she went to say sphere, but then she remembered there's been an update to the software, so she now has to say oblate spheroid.
Rotates, but for the purposes...
Sorry, no. They made it explicitly clear that it is, quote, non-rotating. That's what it says. Not, the negligible 15 degrees an hour deviation that we are suggesting you'll see in a football, gyroscope and pendulum is for the sake of this particular endeavour when it comes to ballistic trajectory, just not accounted for because that's a problem. And therefore, to simplify this problem of not measuring any drift, we'll just not measure any and not worry about it. But that obviously means, in a dingbat's brain, that means we're definitely turning then. Or when it says flat, end quote, that means spherical, oblate, right? No. The words have meaning for a reason. In this case, they have to tally with the measurements, horizontal distance and altitude from sea level in this instance.
Of simplifying this method, our study assumes these factors. 5 for 5, same thing.
6. A NASA contractor report from 1978 titled Investigation of Aircraft Landing in Variable Wind Fields, covering equations of motion for the effects of wind on aircraft landings, stated on page 6, the aircraft trajectory model employed in this study.
Same thing, and once again, it's given us joyfully a big list of things that we know to be untrue based in reality, but can be assumed for simplicity.
Let me get it straight. So they're stating things that aren't true in reality. Why would they do that? That seems stupid. No, they're doing it because they have to do it. This disclaimer is based on the measurements that are being utilised. Horizontal distance, altitude from sea level.
When performing this study. If it is such that an assumption in a paper by NASA that is made for the sake of doing an equation must actually mean that is representative of reality.
No, the measurements representative of reality. The calculations after the fact are just that, after the fact calculations.
Then that also means that NASA are admitting that the acceleration of gravity is constant, which we know is not true.
No, this is just a straw man. I wondered what the context was in her opening clip.
The air density is constant, which we know is not true. That the airframe is a rigid body, that the aircraft is constrained to motion in the vertical plane. Even Eric's got to know that that's not true. So why is it that...
Sorry, constrained to motion in the vertical plane, as in the vertical altitude, flight level, with respect to the measured mean sea level. Parallel. Yeah, these are flat Earth measurements. No assumptions, no simplification, measurements of Earth's planar surface for flight level and surface level. Simple.
That it's fine to simplify things about the aircraft to make the equation simpler, but we can't simplify things about the shape and motion of the globe to make things simpler.
Right, shape and motion of a globe, you're assuming. What globe would that be? We don't have any global measurements. We've only got flat Earth linear distances and altitudes from sea level. Those are the measurements. So he's begging the question on their behalf, in the face of them explicitly detailing how flat it is. Zealotry. That's what this is.
Maybe she got the global measurements from Toon.
There are no global measurements. There's only horizontal distance, azimuth, and altitude. That's it.
Because that actually means that the Earth is flat. Otherwise, they would do that in the most complex way every single time.
So you're saying because they do it in what they call a simplistic way and it's flat, that means that because they've simplified it to make it flat for the ease of equations, it's actually ball-shaped. This is the most fucked up logic I've ever heard.
Yeah, and earlier she joked that because she's an art student, she isn't qualified to do this, but yet now she can read the minds of the people who wrote the paper.
Use your noggin, Eric. 6 for 6, move on. I've not got all day, Eric, and there are 42 more minutes in this video.
Development.
So don't watch it. Go and buy a few cats. Go and drink from the fairy cup in some lesbian bar. Nobody's forcing you to do this. Nobody's twisting your frickin' arm. What are you babbling about? You're talking to a videographer that isn't there about how limited your time is, while you've chosen to respond to his video and double-speak your way around what is written down in black and white. Like, well, because it's simply described as a flat Earth measurement, that means it's globe-shaped. I haven't got much time here, lad. Are you delusional? Do you need committing?
And validation of a piloted simulation of a helicopter and external sling load. All about piloting single-rotor helicopters carrying suspension systems.
I was right, I think. We're, 7 in now? And so far, every single one has been, this is an experiment on short to mid...
But no. No, they're not experiments. Again, category error. An experiment is the elucidation of a cause and effect relationship based on observed phenomena in nature. Step 1, observe phenomena in nature. Step 2, suppose a cause of the effect you observed in nature, alongside a zero difference result called a null. Step 3, vary and manipulate that which you assume causes the effect to see if it causes the effect or not. If it doesn't, you validate your null hypothesis if A, not B. If it does, you validate your alternative hypothesis. That's if A, then B. That's an experiment. These are not experiments! They're describing measurements in ballistic trajectory. In this case, a frickin' helicopter.
Range vehicles or missiles or whatever.
Yeah, physics, that's science and experimentation, is a study of the physical and natural world. The reason man-made items don't go into the physics and experimentation category is because we know what caused them. A man made them. So you don't have to put this through the scientific method. You're in a complete category error, you complete dingbat. This is not experiments. At best, it's technology. But the measurements applied to the technology in terms of its trajectory are measurements of Earth's surface. This isn't science, you dingbat.
Therefore, for the purposes of simplification, we're assuming a flat, non-rotating Earth, among other assumptions that do not reflect the greater reality.
Where does it say that it doesn't affect the greater reality? No, the greater reality is based on the measurements of Earth's surface in linear distances. That's how we've surveyed the Earth. Any topographical deviations from those horizontal linear miles and kilometres are described with respect to the horizontal distance, perpendicular to it in the vertical. Those measurements are described perpendicular to sea level at a zero datum. The entire Earth's surface has been measured, surveyed and topographically detailed from sea level with horizontal distances. That doesn't mean that when I suggest that the facts of measurement are flat, that means ultimately it must be bloody globe-shaped then. That is the stupidest thing you can possibly infer when the black and white labelled details from this accredited source say the antithesis of your conclusion. My God.
But are negligible within the test that we're doing. So far, that has been...
They're not testing anything. You think logging the movements of a helicopter is a test? No, it's a measurement.
Explanation, the very simple, logical, and true-to-life, no conspiracy needed explanation for every single point. So I'm going to skim through, and I'll just let you know. I'll just stop if there are any that make a different point that we haven't yet explained. There's 50 papers in here. And you and I both have lives. We got shit to do. So let me take this on for you.
And external loads of motion term.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Same.
For both
Yeah.
helicopter
Yeah, same
53
thing.
helicopter
Same thing, yeah.
sling.
Oh, we interrupt this programming to bring you Eric Dubay's shitty Patreon page. As mentioned earlier, this is the reason that many conspiracy theorists...
How dare you? You fucking e-begging, grifter, flogging raycon. What an absolute double standard outrage.
But especially flat earth conspiracy theorists will cling on for dear life. We're still...
Right, is it only fair to sell shitty Chinese headphones? Is that the only reasonable standard when you e-beg and grift some shit product? Is that the only reasonable standard, right? Eric Dubay's Patreon page. But meanwhile, buy these piece of shit Chinese headphones, right? You disgust me.
Hanging on for life. Oh my god, that song is so appropriate for flat earth conspiracy theorists.
Would it have sounded better on some shitty Chinese headphones that you're promoting?
Still holding on. Made enough mistakes between two of us to sink this
You've got a shit voice, yeah?
thing. We're still clinging on
shut
for
up.
life. I must have got it right.
Nobody
from a
wants
great
to hear
album,
you
Trip
singing.
to Life, fantastic album. What are we talking about? Eric Dubay's Patreon page. Yes. This is why they keep up the conspiracy, because
This is why scumbags have a YouTube channel, so they can sell you shitty plastic Chinese headphones at a massively over-extorted rate. That's why she's got this channel, so she can e-beg and grift her way into shitty headphone sales.
it is their livelihood. They don't know what else to do.
She doesn't know what else to do. She's just got a shitty headphones to promote for somebody else that she hasn't manufactured. She's probably never even used. But she's going to stick her cap out in front of you and ask you to go and buy her shitty headphones made in China.
poured however many years of their life into this. I guess being a yogi is not making him enough money.
I guess flogging shitty Chinese headphones isn't making her enough money. That's why she's got to recommend Simon Dan, who she's literally not even covered in the slightest when covering this man who's just trying to make a frickin' living. Now, I would encourage you to go to Eric's Patreon page, and I've stuck my money where my mouth is and done exactly that. Last time he made his appeals to his audience, that's me, and said, yeah, come and become a patron. It's really hard to make a living on YouTube as a flat earther, and he's absolutely correct. So I did exactly that, and I encourage you to do it. Not often I'll encourage someone else to go to their Patreon page when I've got one of my own, but in this case, I'm so outraged by this grifter flogging shitty Chinese headphones. It's all well and good and fun when she's got something to promote, but when the person that she's critiqued with complete baseless assertions, with logic that's completely flawed, she's now moaning that he wants to make a frickin' living. How dare you?
He needs Patreon supporters for his Flat Earth podcast.
Do you need your shitty Chinese headphones for your shitty YouTube page? Is that what you need, love? Your shitty Chinese headphones made of plastic?
But how about instead you check out today's sponsor using the link down below, or go to my Patreon, patreon.com.
Oh my God!
Have versions of videos like this. So a lot of using
of applications. Why in the world would their models and equations not assume a rotating round Earth?
They can't. Like you showed on screen, you've got a Cartesian system being demonstrated. That's why. Here it is on screen. This is length, breadth, and depth. That's distance in horizontal altitude, orientation with respect to azimuth, and altitude from sea level. Those are the measurements. There aren't any others. There's not some global measurements being made. There aren't any.
Accommodate a wide variety of applications. Why in the world would their models and equations not assume a rotating round Earth?
He just said it to make it simpliful. I'm starting to lose my mind. To make it simple and broad and far-reaching.
Detailing experiments done for stability and control derivatives on SR-71s, carrying equipment externally mounted to the top of the fuselage. On page 11, we see once again, these equations assume a rigid vehicle and a flat, non-rotating Earth. The experiments included traveling up to Mach 3, or over 2,300 miles per hour. At that speed, over a spherical Earth of given proportions, a straight and level flight without adjustment in just 1 minute would find itself at nearly 1,000 feet higher altitude due to curvature drop.
Okay.
You're whistling past the prerequisites, Eric. Yeah, you've got distance and you've got altitude. Well, the drop would be measured with respect to sea level if there was one. There isn't. The altitude and distance and speed are with respect to planar measurements of distance in the horizontal, and the altitude is perpendicular to sea level. Those are the only bases. You can't say, well, if it was spherical, no, then you wouldn't have a horizontal distance. You'd have a drop over the distance, and it would be surveyed with rise over run, and documented, with the void opening up ahead of the ballistic trajectory. It doesn't account for it, because there isn't one. And if you suggest that there is a void opening up at a rate of 8 inches per flat Earth mile squared, then there is a void that the ballistic trajectory could use as a space for it to fly in. There isn't, and it's not an oversimplification. It's just based on measurements.
I've read a little bit of the paper, and while I find it deeply fascinating, here's what you got to remember. I'm not a scientist or a mathematician, so I could be misunderstanding this just as badly as Eric.
What's to misunderstand? What's to misunderstand? You've got distances. They're horizontal. They're measured. It's not complicated, like on a map scale. Like as the crow flies distances. Yeah? Then you've got altitudes, perpendicular to sea level, in the vertical. Then you've got the direction that it travels. That's called azimuth. This is not complicated. You don't need to be a mathematician to understand how frickin' mile works. Or how directions work. I'm going to go that way. Now, because you can ascribe that a degree from north, do you think that's making it complicated? No, I think most people, if you put a protractor in front of them, can understand the degree from north. That's not complicated. You think most people can't wrap their head around height from sea level? No, I think most people are intelligent enough to understand what height is. This is not complicated in any stretch of anybody's imagination. Even people with a sub-80 IQ can understand horizontal distances in miles. Or altitude measured from sea level. This is not complicated at all. Eric's not overcomplicating anything.
Luckily, I got a lot of smart people in the audience, so you can correct me down below. But here's what I think Eric is saying and what I think reality is saying.
What about what the documents say when they describe respect to a plane? Do you think that's not what should be addressed? You should rather go to what you think Eric is saying and what you think the response should be. No, you're dealing with specific documents. It's written in black and white. You don't need to think about what Eric's interpretation means. It's written down.
I think Eric is saying that if...
Sorry, who gives a shit? NASA are saying it's flat because it has to be. That's how all the measurements work. So I couldn't give a crap what Eric's saying, all due respect to Eric.
An aircraft was travelling at
She's
Mach 3...
also anthropomorphizing reality. Has reality ever spoken to you, Nathan?
No.
Does reality have lips?
No. What reality thinks isn't going to be an anthropomorphization capable of being described in this particular instance. You're correct. Well caught.
For a certain amount of distance.
Distance, you say? Well, like horizontal mile measurements as per the map scales when we surveyed Earth in horizontal distances. Again, you stupid little girl, appealing to flat Earth measurements like you're somehow going to infer sphericity from these horizontal distances, end quote you. Yeah, they're horizontal measurements of Earth's surface that you'll now appeal to. Are you going to simplify these miles that we've surveyed Earth with? No simplification is required. We just measure Earth with them. They're flat.
You would have to account for the curvature of the Earth.
So curvature would be a drop in the vertical with respect to that horizontal distance. Now, as per the documents that you've ignored when you interpret Eric, they haven't got any. There isn't any deviation in the vertical. That's hills and valleys. Earth's being dealt with as a plane. Why? Well, because we've got an overall master reference for the entirety of Earth. It's called sea level. Any vertical deviation will be described with respect to the measurements that we've got millimetre accuracy for.
And they haven't in this model.
No, they just haven't because there isn't any. There isn't any Earth curve. If there was, it would be measured to the millimetre accuracy in the surveys.
I think they were doing in the experiment...
No, this isn't an experiment. Nobody's ascertaining the elucidation of the causal influence of an effect observed in nature. We're talking about fucking helicopters.
Was measuring short distances at...
Distances, you say? Yeah, those will be horizontal measurements of a flat Earth you're appealing to, my love.
Different Mach points? So pilots were performing pitch and yaw roll movement.
A pitch and yaw with respect to a plane also. These are flat Earth measurements.
And those were used to measure the stability of the aircraft.
Oh, so what you're saying is when we measure your rotation, degrees of altitude, pitch, the surface altitude, the planar measurement of sea level itself, these are all flat Earth measurements. Where's the simplification? Did anybody catch where she's describing how these flat Earth by prerequisite measurements of Earth's surface have in some way been simplified? Did anybody catch the simplification? What simplification exactly of these flat Earth measurements? Did anybody catch that? No, there's no simplification. We've just got flat Earth measurements, love. It's pretty basic.
Which I believe means...
I know what she means.
Well, she's moving now in a Cartesian... She's rocking backwards and forwards and left and right. Like she's mental.
She's going to...
Good.
They're going to overcomplicate it by trying to make it fit on a sphere. So it's just simple to make it work on a flat plane, because that's how it's measured.
I don't think it's that they were going really fast in a straight line and measuring what happens here. I think it's that they were measuring what happens...
Oh, sorry. So when you think they measure ballistic trajectory, you don't think they measure the distance? Yeah, they just eyeball it, generally speaking. Yeah, that's generally how they do it, you stupid, dim-witted woman.
In the time where they go like this, at different...
What, as in describing their pitch with respect to a plane? Like that? Yeah, that's pitch with respect to a plane.
Speeds. And the pilots did that hundreds of times. A couple of hundred times. With lots of the measurements done at Mach 1. Like, ranging from Mach 0.4 to Mach 3. So I don't think...
Right, are you talking about a speed? Like a distance measurement that's flat as the base for that speed? Yeah, you're going to need a horizontal distance to describe Mach 1.
I don't think it's a scenario in this experiment that they were...
What experiment? You're talking about the testing of aircraft at Mach 1. This is not an experiment. This is not the elucidation of cause and effect based on natural phenomena. You have no idea the words that you're using.
Travelling at Mach 3 for a long time and...
So is that some natural phenomena? Travelling at Mach 3? Or is that man-made? Yeah, we don't deal with synthetic when we're dealing with science. You're in a complete category.
Should have therefore noticed the curvature of the Earth. I don't think...
So curvature would be a measurement of drop with respect to the horizontal distance. Yeah, like 8 inches per mile. The mile is a flat Earth linear distance that is reliant for you to infer that there is some sort of Earth curvature. You're going to need flat Earth measurements to make that inference. When you don't make a calculated inference of a drop with respect to horizontal measured distance, you can suggest that that's a simplification. It isn't. It's just measuring Earth flat for ballistic trajectory.
I think that is the kind of experiment that they were doing.
It's not an experiment.
You can read the paper online, so if you're smarter than me and you can figure out a better way of saying that or correcting me if I'm totally wrong.
We are correcting you, dimbat. That's what we're doing, correcting you. That's all we've been doing.
Please do.
We are.
That was good, though. Everything else has been the same point about just simplifying equations, but...
Sorry, simplifying equations? No, equations come after measurements. If this has any validity with respect to Earth's surface, then it's reliant on having measurements to utilise for these calculations. Now, when they're describing the calculations in a simplistic way, they're still reliant on the flat Earth prerequisite of measurements of distance and altitude.
At least this one,
That's
he
correct.
was trying to say something kind of different, even if it was wrong.
2012 called Robert Simon, aka Mr. Blue Marble, was an interview with their lead data visualizer, who admitted in another interview that his blue marble globe image was, quote, photoshopped because it had to be. In this interview, he admits that the hard part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface with 4 months of satellite data. Then, we wrapped the flat map around a ball. But if Earth is already a ball, why doesn't the satellite data already come in that way?
Well, because it's not a ball. It's like a lumpy squashed ball, if we're being honest. It's an oblate spheroid, not a sphere. If we continue reading instead of cutting the quote off...
Sorry, but that would be a baseless assertion that you've just made. Yeah, that's an extraordinary claim that's in defiance of the measurements of the horizontal distance. If we were an oblate spheroid, then we'd have measurements of that. We don't. We only have horizontal distances and altitude from sea level. So your basis assertion fails.
Off there. He says that his part was integrating the surface, clouds, and oceans to match people's expectations of how Earth looks from space. So Eric is saying, if Earth already ball, satellite images just wrap around ball, and then boom. The blue marble, by the way, if you didn't know what that was, original name comes from a photograph taken...
Sorry, who gives a shit? This is a complete non sequitur. This is now a non sequitur fallacy, in case anybody doesn't know what that is. Use your noggin, love. Use your noggin. This is a non sequitur fallacy.
From the Apollo 17, 1972, by an Apollo astronaut.
But that's not what he's talking about. This is non sequitur.
Of the Earth. But then in 2012, there was a series of blue marble photos using satellite images with little cloud cover to create an image.
Sorry, that doesn't look much like a ball to me. What's she babbling about? That's a transverse Mercator projection, you stupid woman. Do you not know what you're identifying? This is definitely not an image from a satellite. This is a transverse Mercator projection.
Of the globe that covers the Earth at high resolution. The satellite images were taken from low orbit. They had to be composite.
Orbit, you say? Low orbit? Low? What, as in a height from sea level? That sort of low orbit. Orbit, as in the Roman Catholic derivation of elevation angle measurements from Earth's surface, derived into an equatorial plane with you inside a globe. That sort of orbital motion. All right. Now, low is a planar description. When you say something's in low Earth orbit, then that's a measurement from an altitude with respect to sea level. That's how low you are. So you're using flat Earth measurements again? Is this you simplifying something when you describe how low something is? No, that's its measurement with respect to surface level at sea level, with an average, if you're going to describe it as a measurement. Notice how the measurements don't need simplifying. They're just a low Earth orbit with respect to a planar measurement perpendicular to sea level. Yeah, that's the measurements of Earth being flat. For your inference that something's in an orbit. No, orbits is a Roman Catholic derived mathematics based on flat Earth measurements also. Go ahead, whoever had their mic open for that entire diatribe.
Sorry. Not the entire time. I kept going on. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say low Earth orbit is a hat tip to the fact that it's not from space.
Oh, I was going to say
space.
Yeah, John.
To appeal to orbit is to, as Nathan said, bring up orbital mechanics. And if you look at every single element of orbital mechanics, whether it's apogee, perigee, eccentricity, time, everything is with respect to a flat plane. So this isn't really helping her at all.
Posited together because you can't see the Earth from that angle at that orbit, and it is a wide series of
from that angle. Oh my God, she literally doesn't know the prerequisites that she's got falling out of her own mouth. An angle.
Use your noggin.
Use your noggin. Don't use flat Earth measurements, love. Angle, what with respect to a plane? Use your noggin, you dumbass.
We've got no reason to hit up her shitty Patreon, have we?
Definitely don't use her noggin.
satellite photographs from different times and locations. So in that sense...
Right, times derived from flat Earth measurements of the sun, averaged. It's a convention that required flat Earth measurements in order to derive that convention. That's what time is. Location, that's data that uses coordinates. That's also by flat Earth prerequisite measurement. So you're again appealing to flat Earth measurements. Again, have I got to simplify these? No, they're just measurements. Locations, time, derived from a flat plane in both instances.
It's not a series of photographs of the Earth taken from space like the original Blue Marble is. It's a composition created from satellite photographs. Because the satellite photos were taken in low orbit with a narrow...
Sorry, low? Again, you're going to describe and appeal to flat Earth measurements from sea level. How embarrassing.
Field of view. They cannot fit together.
Right, a field of view is something that you describe with perspective. That's planar also. Fields of view are a description of a plane. The angles, the angular resolution, the Rayleigh criterion, fields of view, apertures, those are all describing angles, resolution, limits of the plane with respect to your line of sight being planar. Everything you're appealing to requires flat measurements. There is no exception. If you've got a measurement and it's with respect to Earth, it is flat. There are never any exceptions to that fact. Ever.
Together. You cannot physically slap them around a globe and have it work just because of the nature of the camera at that angle, at that orbit. This one, I think, is...
Angle, you say? Orbit, you say? Orbit's the Roman Catholic derived value that's come from a flat plane. Angle is with respect to a plane. You keep appealing to these flat Earth prerequisites. Why? Well, because you're unaware that it goes without saying that they're flat Earth by prerequisite. You just didn't know that.
Is more a misunderstanding of photography and lenses and distance.
Really? What, like the Rayleigh criteria? Like the angular resolution? Yeah, these are all planar things that you're now appealing to, love. Don't embarrass yourself.
Than it is the science of the shape of the Earth or anything.
So the science of shape? You think science and science of the investigation of the elucidation of the cause and effect based on physical natural phenomena that's not man-made and shapes? You're in a complete category area. You're a dumbass.
Yes, those images were composited in order to make them fit on a globe.
Oh, right. So basically now, right at the end of your diatribe of shite that used quite a few flat Earth measurements, you're agreeing with Eric. They're composited onto a globe. Eric's point being, if it was already global, why would you need to composite onto a globe? That was his point. Now you've affirmed it. Well done, you double-speaking clown shoes.
They had to
To be
be.
fair, Nathan, you are doing
They
well.
had to be.
I don't know if you'll last the next 10 minutes, though.
Why?
Oh.
Well, you seem to get a bit frustrated with it to the point where you might just call it quits.
We'll see. I don't mind covering the full video. We've done several hours on this particular video. I don't mind getting to the end.
Original satellite images are still all real. The original blue marble photo from 1972 is still real. The Earth is still an oblate spheroid.
Yeah, this is all wishful thinking. That's all that was. A string of wishful thinking.
Moreover,
at what elevation were they when they took that photo?
Elevation from sea level. Well, it would be a flat Earth measurement, wouldn't it?
Don't the satellites just take an actual photograph for us?
Well, they do. That's what they do.
No, you just explained 30 seconds ago that they didn't. It's composited. That's what you just explained. You just disclaimed that, literally. It was less than 30 seconds ago. Shout out to Unitox Femu. What do you know about shapeology? Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Unitox Femu. We really appreciate the support.
Dash is all caught up.
It's all made from real satellite photos. It's just that they're satellites.
I see. So real satellite photos of a real globe, even though they've had to composite onto the globe after the fact. So composites being not real, placing it on a globe after the fact being not globe-shaped already. Now you're just going to completely contradict that which you've conceded to after a load of waffle and flat Earth measurements. Oh, gotcha. You're disingenuous as well. We'll add that to the list.
It's a too low orbit. To take,
Low's a measurement from
the
sea
kind of
level.
photo that you couldn't take a photo
Stuttery, you can't even get this full sentence out. This is an edited video.
that encapsulated the whole globe because it's a globe.
They didn't, you double-speaking clown. Literally, within 30 seconds, you conceded Eric's point that they didn't do that. Ugh, this frustrates the hell out of me, you're right.
There would be no need for NASA's plethora of CGI composite globe images.
Yeah, exactly. If it was already globe-shaped, they'd just take pictures of it globe-shaped from an altitude from sea level.
I guess the CGI in a sense, but CGI is a very misleading term to describe a composition of satellite photographs that were edited to fit on a globe. It feels like deliberately misleading calling it CGI.
So when it's computer generated, because they generated it with a computer, you feel that Eric appealing to the fact that it's admitted to be generated by computer and imagery, that would be computer generated imagery. Is Eric being misleading? No, it's him using what's called an abbreviation as opposed to being misleading. No, it is absolutely unequivocally generated by a computer. Therefore, CGI. There's nothing misleading other than the fact that it isn't already ball-shaped and they've had to convert it.
21. A U.S. Army research...
I'm sorry.
Good.
Did you just say that you would have a picture of it globe-shaped from an altitude above sea level?
Yes.
That sentence is extremely malformed.
Absolutely, yes. Measuring an altitude from sea level would be a measurement from a plane. So to say you're measuring a ball with photography from a plane is malformed, yes, intentionally so.
laboratory publication from 2000 called Modeling of Atmospheric Effects.
Atmosphere is an oxymoron. Atmo means air, sphere is a shape, air, that's atmo, takes the shape of its containment. It doesn't arbitrarily form sphere shapes.
Attempted to realistically model atmospheric effects and their impacts on the battlefield, from smoke, dust, and fog to thunder showers and weather fronts.
Cool.
This model works well over a flat Earth and a non-turbulent atmosphere. In the near future, this model will be added to the Electro-Optical Systems Atmospheric Effects Library. If the point is to realistically model atmospheric effects, why would the government waste time and money modeling a supposedly unrealistic model?
Brother, have I got some bad news for you about what the government has and will continue to waste money on? It's the same thing, because it's the simplest way of doing it. He's again ignoring the fact that it says this model works well over a flat Earth and non-turbulent atmosphere. It's just both of those factors are being ignored in order to do the simplest version of this test. Same thing, move on.
Page 7 says, it is assumed that the transmitting antenna and the target are located above but near the surface of a flat, idealized Earth ground.
You see, when you say above, automatically you've ipso facto described a measurement from respect to a plane. Above means a description from the horizontal in the vertical. You need a horizontal plane of reference to describe how above you are with respect to that plane. Automatically, meaning you can only make this description work on a flat Earth. That's how all measurements of Earth's surface function. There aren't any exceptions. There's only planar descriptions.
And you know what? The real Earth isn't flat.
Sorry, it's being measured flat. The description is being described with a word that can only work planar. Above. That's a planar word. The minute you say it's not flat, then you can't be above it.
The ground isn't an idealized flat surface.
Really? Well, why have we got mean sea level measured with respect to a plane? Why have we got horizontal distances? Yeah, that's because that's how Earth's measured. Flat and planar.
Even if you believe
Right,
in flat
so-
Earth, you know that that's not true.
Good.
Yeah, it's not idealized, it's measured. She's correct.
But no, the only bit that's the lie is the conspiracy bit that you make money off of. Same thing, move on.
This model works over a flat Earth and non-turbulent atmosphere. Even with these restrictions, the model performs very well for many scenarios.
Hi there.
Hello.
Would you like to receive a gift?
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ
Oh,
of
that sounds
Latter-day
exciting.
Saints, and this is the Book of Mormon.
To talk about Jesus.
Specifically talks about Jesus Christ.
No,
Excellent.
it's the Book of Mormon.
But not all scenarios,
It's a
because
different
it's a
Jesus.
simplification
Let's not worry about that.
of the real effects of the Earth. It's funny, it's telling that in all of these documents, despite his assurances, Eric's assurances that he has done so much research and that's why you should give him money on Patreon, he's looking pretty much exclusively at the introductions and the abstracts of these papers. What he's done is he's done a search on like the government.
How the hell do you know what he's done?
Yeah,
you know,
I
based
was
on what
gonna
is
say
edited
that.
video that is presented to you in a digestible format, you're going to divine what he's done to come to that edited video, are you? What an outrage. I can only assume by looking at this woman that she's never been in the company of a man. No man would ever tolerate this blouse. It's repugnant. It looks like somebody vomited on her. So one would assume that she doesn't spend any time in the company of men. And the women that are around her don't respect her because they aren't telling her how gross she looks. Nobody's told her that. One can only assume that she's very lonely and has cats as a result. You think that's reasonable? Shall I make these assumptions based on your appearance? Based on this video, I can assume that this is getting very little male attention. Yeah? Reasonable? No, it's scummy. Again, mirror held up to you. Is it not fun? You don't know anything about Eric or how he's done this, or how he's researched this information, or how he acquired it, or what he's read of it. You haven't got the vaguest idea. Just because he presents stuff that's come from the abstract doesn't mean he didn't read the paper. But you're going to make that assumption. Oh, right, I see. You're a scumbag.
Website for the words flat Earth, and every paper that references.
I see. Now you've
they
just decided
usually-
that he did a quick search of the word flat Earth. Based on what? You're going to substantiate that bullshit somehow? Of course not. Making stuff up. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say also a lot of times they like to put
the flat Earth in the heading. They like to get that out front so that they can talk about their sphere. They appeal to the flat Earth right away. That's why it's in the abstract or in the heading, or it's put somewhere at the beginning, the very beginning of what they're about to talk about.
Absolutely. I remember this being detailed in a show that I love called Yes Minister / Yes Prime Minister. And they've got an awkward detail. So it's the minister talking to his permanent secretary about some very awkward information that they don't want to disclose in the papers that are going to be released to the press. And he says, should I bury the information on page 237? And the permanent secretary says, no, you make it the title. That's what you do with the devastating information. You put it on the cover.
Is the flat Earth because they have used a model which simplifies the Earth because the Earth's rotation is negligible.
Sorry, 15 degrees an hour is claimed to be. It's just not being measured in this example, not because you're simplifying something that does occur, because if it occurred, you'd have to account for it. You keep saying this word negligible. Sorry, does negligible sound like 15 degrees an hour to you? No, it's just that, quote, Simon Dan, you and your reference frames have been ruined, end quote, Simon Dan. Yeah, that's to say that when you suggest they can be simplified, that's to say we'll ignore the fact that we claim we're rotating at 15 degrees an hour and observe deflection thereof, called Coriolis effect. We'll simplify it by just not accounting for that which we don't see happen. Yeah, because it's, quote, negligible. No, it just doesn't happen. It's just that simple. As for the rest of the measurements, not the ones they're simplifying, the ones they're measuring, they're all flat. They're horizontal distances, altitudes from sea level, and azimuthal horizontal directionality. That's what they are.
He's put together into a video, but he's not well.
Yes.
It won't be long before you and your reference frames have been ruined. Has its 10th anniversary?
Is that right? Is it almost 10 years? I can believe it.
Yeah, it's not far off.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, eh?
Willing to read further than me.
Down one quote that's being used against him 10 years later.
That's what you get. If you're going to proactively contact me, like, I have no interest in any of these wankers. Simon Dan's just another wanker to me. But Simon Dan proactively contacted me. He also lies about it continuously. Oh, I don't enter into debates with flat earthers. Yeah, you do. You entered proactively into debate with me about Coriolis effect. What did you say, Dan? Quote, you and your reference frames have been ruined. I don't have any reference frames, Dan. What are you babbling about? You and your globe has 2 reference frames, inertial and non-inertial, and there's a claim to be observable deviation of 15 degrees an hour, as it's suggested we rotate on a non-inertial turning flat reference frame. That's your claim that doesn't happen. What's that you say, Dan? Oh, it's been ruined. What, your globe claim's been ruined? Yeah, it has, yeah. Negligible, apparently. Yeah, that means we don't see it. That's it. We don't have any effects to suggest we spin. And whenever it comes to doing anything of any significance, it's not accounted for because it does not happen.
Introduction of any of them. The abstract is the furthest we're going to get, and every document can be explained the same way.
Sorry, because you went through the entirety of the document as opposed to Eric's coverage of it. You haven't brought this up as your reference once, you realise that. All you've done is cover Eric's coverage of it. And you're going to lay this at his door like he hasn't done a good enough job. I bet you haven't even got a copy of any of these documents. I bet literally your only interaction with any of them is what you've seen on screen that Eric provided you with. And you're going to accuse him of only going through the abstract. Where did you go through anything beyond what Eric covered in this video? Did you present any of these documents to say, actually on page 53, blah, blah, blah? You haven't done any of that. You're a complete hypocrite.
Way. And his argument in every single one is...
He didn't make any arguments. He said, here's where they say it's flat. That's not an argument. That is him explicitly detailing where they write it down in black and white. You think that's an argument? No, that's not an argument. That's a statement. That's him reading.
If Earth not flat, why would they assume flat for the purposes of this equation?
So, sorry, for the measurements that will form the equation, we have to measure Earth flat because that's how it is. Measured.
Which we have answered. So...
Oh, so you've already covered this? Oh, it's almost like you've gone through the entirety of the document. Let's just say what she said about Eric. This lazy, lesbo-looking bitch, I bet hasn't even gone and got any of these documents. All she can do is rely on another YouTuber having got them, and then claim that he's somehow fallen short by her assumption that he only went through the abstract. Oh, right. And you've gone through all of them, right? You've gone through all 50 documents because you're such a wonderful researcher. Oh, no, you've only put Eric's video on screen. So you're guilty of the very thing you're projecting onto Eric. What scum?
For the surveillance detection,
Is this her covering this, or is this still Eric's video? Oh, it's just Eric's video, so she's not bringing up this document then, that apparently he's only gone through the abstract when she divines his work ethic.
Identification and tracking of sound-emitting targets in combat. To examine acoustic attenuation at night,
all acoustics are done with respect to a flat plane. It's one of the diagrams I have going around on the revolving screen grabs that I use on the show on a daily basis. Anything to do with acoustics is all done planar.
Used low atmosphere profiles of wind speed, temperature, and relative humidity as input to a flat Earth.
And you know why?
Because it's measured flat. These are measurements, that's why.
Because it's an approximation of short range acoustic...
But range? Range is distance. That's horizontal measurements. When you describe range, you're describing how far things can travel in the horizontal measured distance. That's what range means.
Attenuation. Therefore, the
It
effects
also
of the Earth's
mentioned air temperature, which you need a container for.
rotation are negligible. What a surprise!
By using a flat Earth assumption, the author finds that triangulation equations are able to account for signal fading in most cases.
No, in order to perform triangulation equations, you need to measure triangles with flat baselines and horizontal distances. In fact, what are we looking at? We're looking at a diagrammatical example of exactly that. The D, you see this D? That's distance. Yeah? That is the measurement of horizontality for linear values of Earth's surface. So the measurements offer a necessity for Earth to be flat, or the distance won't work.
And why is that? Because we're studying effects near the surface of the Earth, where the shape and the rotation of the Earth are negligible factors.
So I see. So when we're measuring Earth for horizontal distances, you're suggesting that if your religious belief of having an 8-inch per mile, that's a flat Earth linear distance derivation, isn't accounted for because it's negligible. No, your religion has an 8 inches per flat Earth measured mile deviation in the vertical. That's a void that any ballistic trajectory would have to account for, but isn't because there isn't one. If there was, it would be a derivation of horizontal linear mile measurements. As per the D in the diagrammatical example you just whistled straight past.
And found in many cases,
that spastic movement she just made was her cognitive dissonance playing out.
Yeah.
The effect of Earth curvature may be neglected, and the flat Earth approximation is appropriate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why doesn't Eric understand that?
Why doesn't Eric understand that when we measure Earth flat and ignore any signs of any curvature, that doesn't mean it's flat? That obviously means it's ball-shaped. The negligible lack of curve and the negligible lack of spin means we've got spin and Earth curve. Obviously, this lesbo-looking cow knows exactly what she's babbling on about. It's perfect logic.
Read it out. What doesn't he get? How does...
What doesn't he get about what? The horizontal distance measurements or the perpendicular altitudes from sea level or the azimuthal horizontal directionality? Which bit are we failing to understand? Has been simplified? No, it's been measured.
Does that then lead him to think that this is somehow proof of flat Earth?
Yeah, that's how it's being measured, detailed and explicitly.
And do a therefore or anything for that one. He's just...
That's how it's explicitly being detailed, my love. Yeah, there's no accounting for any curve because there isn't any. There's no accounting for any rotation because there isn't any. What there is horizontal distances. That's what we've got.
He doesn't get how negligible it is.
It's like
it doesn't get how we should ignore it completely. Yes, silly Eric.
debunked himself and then like, yep, and next. This
No. He hasn't debunked anything. He's just stating facts. He's not offering it as a logical consistency. He's not offering it as an argument. He's just reading stuff out. And what he's reading out is how flat it is based on NASA's admissions. Why? That's not being covered by Eric. It certainly isn't being covered by you. It's being covered by me. The why of why it has to be flat is because that's how the measurements work.
whole video, right? 50 documents. In this video, 46 minutes of my life. He's done a search on some government website, on the NASA website.
You've already made this baseless assertion. You've already divined his work ethic once. You're going to do it again. You're going to really piss me off, love. Did you watch him? What evidentiary standards have you got to show that this is how Eric came to these conclusions and how he went through the information? Yeah, you've already made this assertion once. A baseless assertion at best.
Or whatever. For every paper...
Oh, whatever. I just make up this shit about what Eric's done based on his work ethic of not going through the documents. I mean, I'm up on my pedestal here, having only looked at his video and not studied a single document, never downloaded them, never clapped eyes on them beyond Eric's video. But Eric didn't do a good job of investigating them. You fucking hypocrite.
Includes the words flat earth. And he said, well, for the equations in these papers, they have assumed a flat earth model. And then...
Yeah, based on the measurements of Earth being flat, like distance.
He's applied the phrase proving flat earth because of the assumption made for specific equations and specific models.
Well, that's Eric. I'm saying it's based on the measurements. And they're all flat. They can't be anything other than flat, and if they were suggesting sphericity, it would be a derivation from the flat linear distances in the vertical, as per 8 inches per mile squared calculations. That's a suggested sphericity to Earth's surface by deriving and calculating a curve from flat linear measurements of miles.
Finds... The shape and the rotation of the Earth is negligible.
So the shape is negligible. Okay, so this is somehow affirming your religious belief in a bull because it's negligible. So your standard is, I believe Earth's roast chicken because the amount of roast chicken that Earth is negligible. I believe Earth is rotating around a spit in an oven as a rotisserie chicken because of the negligible rotation that we observe. Therefore, Earth's a rotating chicken. That's your standard, love. Notice how absurd it sounds when I transpose your belief in a ball that hasn't got any curve measured and isn't demonstrated to be rotating because it's quote-unquote negligible. Therefore, it is the thing that we're not measuring and suggesting. You're offering crap apologetics. These are crap.
Or can be negligible in order to simplify them.
Can be negligible to simplify them. No, either you're calculating for them because they exist, or they don't exist. What is it explicitly saying in the documents? We don't account for them, so they don't exist. There's nothing to simplify if you're not accounting for them. Yeah? It's not like we've taken into the account that we need 15 degrees an hour rotation that we are experiencing. But for the sake of this example, we take the 15 degrees an hour and do this to it to simplify it. There isn't anything being simplified. It just isn't there.
Isn't something that's negligible technically already as simple as it can get?
Well, it doesn't exist at all. Right, well, we don't have any account for the Earth's rotation. Oh, well, that's simplifying it. Yeah, we don't account for Earth being a giant roast chicken. Therefore, we've simplified the roast chicken aspect of Earth. Because we don't account for it being a roast chicken. I mean, in my mind, when somebody says, today we're not going to account for the roast chicken nature of Earth when it's rotating in an oven that we're definitely in, and because we're not accounting for Earth being a roast chicken and rotating, and we're not accounting for it spinning around on a rotisserie, and we're not accounting for it being in an oven, this is you being stupid. Do you not understand that that's just to simplify things? I mean, we're just simplifying it when we say that we're not going to account for the chicken nature of Earth.
Is he deranged? What am I missing? What am I...
You're missing some Earth spherical measurements, love. That's what you're missing. All you're missing is demonstrable evidence of your belief. You haven't got any. That's what you're missing. Yes, you are deranged.
Not getting. What is the thing that happens in the conspiracy theorist's brain that I don't comprehend here?
Well, when we get a declaration that there's no curve and no spin, what you're not getting is these idiots who should realise that when they say there's no spin and no curve, that means there is. You're the deranged one. This is pure projection.
This is coming from somebody who was, as a
Here we go. Now we're going to poison the well again. Here we go. Ad hom fallacy time.
kid, a conspiracy theorist. I made a whole website about how the moon landing was fake. I cannot comprehend what he's talking about here, how he's gone from...
Well, there's an admission. You can't comprehend what he's talking about. Well, we've spent 30 minutes talking about it.
Okay, well, look at these mathematical assumptions. Look at the assumptions in these mathematical models.
Look at these flat measurements and assumptions. Yeah, that seems like a pretty good standard to me, actually, love. Like, here's how flat it is, and here's NASA, who say it's a ball, saying how flat it is. That's a pretty good standard. Touché.
Therefore, that is proof that the Earth is flat.
No, the measurements are flat. It's not something that's in a debatable category. We measure it flat.
Genuinely can't see the connection.
You can't see the connection between them specifically saying that Earth is flat and it being flat. Yeah, that's zealotry. That's what that's called, zealotry. Look it up.
Document then proceeds to show how convoluted such a process is, due to Earth allegedly being not just a sphere, but, quote, oblate spheroidal, only approximately ellipsoidal, and then claims that the actual, quote, shape of the Earth as defined by the geoid is a hypothetical surface of equal gravitational potential defining mean sea level.
Why is it harder to believe?
Sorry, it specifically said defining mean sea level. That's a measurement of Earth being level by way of measurement. It's required because you're going to describe altitudes perpendicular to it. That's a measurement, love. Let's see if she addresses it.
Where's this
that the Earth is an oblate sphere.
field?
So there is no gravitational field.
Oh.
Well, and isn't he also, he's also reading that, right? That's not his opinion. He's literally verbatim reading what the paper says, correct?
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. He's not making an argument. He's just reading.
Then it's a perfect sphere. The way that the Earth was formed, right, by bits of space dust gathering together around our sun.
No, that's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, entropic dispersion. Yeah, when you say bits of debris correlating or accumulating, no, that defies the second law of thermodynamics, the law of nature. No, entropic decay flies in the face of your assertion based on your heliocentric worldview from Lemaitre. That's where this shit comes from, Lemaitre.
Surely, if you're...
The idea that she was there to witness this happen so that she can describe it to us is absurd.
Yeah, she's just, repeating rhetoric. This is zealotry again.
You're doing common sense arguments.
So is it common sense that we have a defiance of the second law of thermodynamics, entropic dispersion in this instance? Stuff disperses and decays. It doesn't form with a force that's not a force that you can think of as a force, pulling things together. No, that is in direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
Which is like 99% of flat Earth conspiracy stuff is common sense fallacies. If you're doing...
Sorry, is it common sense that when you expel gases from your person, that they come together? Is that what your gases do? Yeah, is that how you think the world works? No, you obviously have no idea what the second law of thermodynamics is, because what you've just said is in diametric opposition to a law of nature. You stupid girl.
Doing common sense fallacy, surely it makes much more sense that we'd be like a weird spheroid.
Why? If we were a weird spheroid, we'd have some frickin' measurements of that. We don't. They're all flat.
Then for us to be a perfect ball, surely...
Good.
I said, speak for yourself.
To be a perfect ball is more of the, young Earth creationist, we're a perfect disc made by God. Surely that's, it makes way more sense for us to be an oblate spheroid. No?
So you've said the same thing 3 times with an edit in between. This is an edited video. You don't need to say the same baseless assertion 3 times. Just offer us a measurement. Okay, according to you, it's common sense that would be an oblate spheroid. As demonstrated by this evidence is the next words that we need to hear coming out of your mouth, love. Let's see if they are.
Mike, am I crazy?
Sorry, whether or not you're bonkers isn't a demonstrated measurement of Earth's oblate spherical nature, as you're asserting, by a baseless assertion fallacy. Yeah, what you've done so far to offer this as an inference, or common sense according to you, is to violate the second law of thermodynamics and entropic dispersion by saying things correlate together. They don't.
What am I missing?
You're missing measurements of Earth's flat surface. Here's an example.
To map their equations onto a smushed globe model while admitting on page 14 that the flat Earth equations are good approximations to the curved Earth result. So their results are barely changed from the flat Earth assumptions anyway.
No, this is describing Earth as an oblate spheroid with you inside it at the equatorial plane. See this? Does it say equatorial radius? These are angle derivations from a plane described from within a ball. Yeah? North is not up. That is the wrong direction fallacy. Yeah? North is a horizontal degree. It's not up. So this is a bastardization of the flat Earth prerequisite altitude angle measurements with a derived equatorial radius. Marked A. This equatorial radius is a measurement that you'd take from the surface in order to derive a minimum. So Earth is measured flat for these conventions and for the angles. Planar. Nobody's in a ball on an equatorial plane. But we are measuring Earth as a plane for these angles to be measured.
Because in this context, say it with me everyone, the shape and the rotation of the Earth is negligible.
Really? Why is it in the diagrammatical example labelled equatorial radius then? Sorry, negligible? You fucking shit for brains retard. It's diagrammatically exampled and labelled equatorial radius, not negligible shit for brains retard value. What are you babbling about?
The complex equations for plane flights that follow in this document, along with all previous listed documents, should not be able to assume a flat, non-rotating Earth.
But they can, because they're describing short to mid-range experiments.
Short to mid-range experiments? Experimental validity is the assertion and elucidation of the cause of an effect observed in nature after systematic experimentation based on scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis. What you've detailed are measurements! Not only that, you've said it's okay for them to be flat. That's what you're basically saying.
They're describing a small area. It's the same way if you're like in...
Area is a measurement of a flat plane also. If you're going to describe an area, you're going to describe it in square miles. That is a horizontal linear distance of a small variety. The value is low for the square miles. Yeah, we'll have to measure a flat in miles that are linear and horizontal in order to give us a square mile to describe how small a particular area is. So again, you're appealing to areas that will and can only be measured flat. This woman is dense. There's no other words for her. She's stupid.
The Netherlands. And you look and you're like, man, everything looks flat. That's because when you're looking at a small area...
Sorry, when you say a small area, you mean you've measured it with horizontal linear distance? Correct? Yeah, that's every area, ever. There isn't suddenly some different area value ascribed in miles when you go beyond a certain flat Earth measured area. What approximate value do you think suddenly miles start bending? They don't, you dumbo!
It might as well be flat. Because
I see. So what you're saying is, when we measure areas with respect to horizontal measured distances, it's okay, it might as well be flat. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Earth's measured flat. Not might as well be. Areas are measured in linear horizontal distances called miles or kilometres. That's measurements of Earth's flat surface, with a prerequisite value in the horizontal, called miles. Yeah, not might as well be flat. You've detailed a prerequisite value of measurement of area. It can only be flat. That's how it's measured. Another shout out to Unitox Femu. What do you know about rangeology and areaology? You're on fire, Sasha. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Because you're not at the scale where you can see the curvature.
Oh, I see. The scale. So you're saying when we get a bigger mile measurement that's flat and linear and horizontal, we can say that that horizontal area measured in square miles that are only capable of ever being detailed flat, they bend at a bigger scale. No, to say how big the scale was would require horizontal mile measurements, my love. You're talking, what's the word? Shite. Utter shite. That's what you're talking. No, we don't suddenly change linear miles to something different when we go beyond a certain value of area. That's garbage. All areas are measured flat with linear miles. They don't change at a given distance. You're just idiotic.
It's just the mathematical equivalent of that. We're at such a small scale that we don't...
Sorry, you're going to repeat yourself? Is this woman's shtick? No wonder we've got a 35-minute video. She keeps saying the same nonsensical garbage over and over again, even with edits.
Need to factor in. It's an unnecessary complication to factor in the shape.
Sorry, the shape would be the surveyed topographical deviations. It's not that we wouldn't need to. We've surveyed every frickin' inch. We have millimetre accuracy of the vertical deviation from sea level. Did you know that? We've measured it. It's all flat. How do we know? Well, because every measurement ever was described with respect to its horizontal distance. And if we've got topographical deviations that you say we don't need to worry about, we'd have them measured. There'd be vertical drop with respect to horizontal distance. And we've measured all of that. It's called a hill. We've measured hills.
The curvature, the rotation of the Earth.
So the curvature would be a deviation in the horizontal from the deviation in the vertical from the horizontal miles that we measure. For the areas that you appeal to, they're flat.
50 documents proving flat Earth.
Yeah, with measurements and disclaimers that are explicit about how flat it must be and how non-curvy it can only be.
Debunked. It feels silly to say debunked because they don't prove anything.
Well, they proved that we've got measurements and they're flat. The receipts are flat Earth measurements. No, we don't need to debunk your stupid globe. You're saying it doesn't exist and is negligible. So there's nothing to debunk. Yeah, it seems silly to say we're debunking something that we're not measuring and aren't accounting for. Yeah, we don't need to debunk it. We're not measuring it. What are we measuring? Well, flat linear distances and vertical deviations and azimuthal horizontal directionality. Yeah, those are all flat Earth measurements. So it seems silly to say that we need to debunk some curve that we haven't got. I agree. First thing I've agreed with you on. Yeah, we don't need to debunk non-existent curve measurements. There aren't any.
They're just using a simpler model of the Earth because they don't need to be overly complex.
I see. So when we measure Earth flat with horizontal distance, we're not being overly complicated. No, we just measure curve if there was any. And if there was, we'd absolutely require to account for it, and we don't, as made explicitly clear in these documents.
This is bizarre. I've always found the flat Earth stuff so bizarre because
I've always found lesbians very irritating. Have you all found lesbians very irritating every time you encounter them?
Extremely.
So, at least they claim to be so into science and experimentation.
So you're in a category area. This isn't science. Oh my God. Observe natural phenomena. Step 1. That's something occurring in the physical and natural world that we inhabit. That's a phenomena. It is simultaneously your dependent variable in your hypothesis. Your independent variable is your presumed cause of that effect. Once you've got a presumed cause and an observed phenomena, you have half of a scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis, mirrored by the null hypothesis, otherwise known as zero difference result. It is formulated as follows. If A being your independent variable, presumed cause of the effect, then B being the natural phenomena observed at step 1. Alternative hypothesis. If A, then B. Null. If A, presumed causal influencer of the observed natural phenomena observed at step 1, then not B. Zero difference. Null. Nothing happening. Both simultaneously exist in a scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis, because you can't have both A causing B and not causing B simultaneously. The scientific prediction, hypothesis, is not an explanation. It is a supposition yet to be validated. How do you validate it? You vary and manipulate the presumed cause of the effect you observed at step 1. That's an experiment. Variation and manipulation of a presumed causal influencer to determine if it causes the effect or not. If it does, you have elucidated the cause of natural phenomena. That's a validated scientific experiment. If you vary and manipulate your causal influencer by assumption and presumption, and it does not cause the effect observed at step 1, then you validate, that's prove, the null. If A, not B, tick, proven. That's experiment, that's science. What are we doing in Eric's video? What's he highlighting? What's he pointing out to his audience with his documents that he's gone through, that you've referenced and never downloaded? Well, he's talking about measurements of a non-rotating flat plane with distances and altitudes. That's what he's got. Now, while you say, oh, we're oversimplifying, we've not taken into account the Earth's curve or Earth shape. Really? Why is it diagrammatically exampled with an equatorial radius, then? Bearing in mind that an equatorial radius is a flat Earth measurement. It's derived from minimum elevation angles to Polaris, minus from 90, times by 60 for you to have your equatorial value that was documented when you said it was being ignored and negligible. Wrong. You didn't even read the document that was on screen that Eric provided. You didn't even read it. You just glanced over it like, oh no, it's still negligible. No, it says equatorial radius. You blind bimbo.
But the simplest concepts pass them by. They have to manipulate terminology and put it in a legal context in order.
Nobody did that. Eric at no stage put anything that he said into a legal context. At any stage whatsoever. He just read stuff out. Now you're burning straw men. Misrepresenting what he did. Liar. Now you're complete scum.
In order to support their worldview.
No, he read stuff out. He did not recontextualise it into legal terminology. You're just lying.
And I don't understand how they can do that without...
I don't understand how scumbags like you can make shit up. How dare you?
Oh, you know, lying awake at night, saying, oh my God, I'm taking people's money for
shitty Chinese Raycon headphones.
Spreading this conspiracy...
For spreading out shitty Chinese plastic garbage.
He's got us labeled as a conspiracy. That's great.
No, surveying Earth with horizontal distances isn't a conspiracy. When we measure horizontal altitude from sea level, perpendicular in the vertical, we aren't a conspiracy. We're just taking measurements. Degrees from north in the horizontal, that's azimuth, aren't a conspiracy. They're used for finding your way. These are directions in the horizontal. That's what we use.
Theory that makes them suspicious of everyone and corrupts them.
Sorry, I'm not suspicious of anybody. I can listen to the words coming out of disingenuous lesbians and then question their integrity when they make shit up about an opponent that has literally just read stuff from NASA documents and you've recontextualised it like he's missing the fact that when describing it flat, it means it's actually an oblate spheroid. No, definitely not. You've suggested that he's recontextualised words that he just read out as being in a legal context. No, you're just making shit up.
Their critical thinking skills. But that's just me. What do I know? What the fuck do I know?
Nothing. Very limited. Your education was poor. Your exemplary demonstration of your idiocy was exemplified in this video. So what do you know? Very little.
And your attitude stank as well.
Your attitude stank, did you say?
Got arts degrees. What do I know?
You got an art degree. Yeah, I got performing arts. Another useless qualification.
Well, there you go. That's 50 documents not proving in any way.
You didn't go through 50 documents. Now you're just lying about what you covered. You did not cover 50 documents.
That the Earth is flat.
Yeah, it's measured flat.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, NASA.
Can
Cheers.
somebody put a link to Eric's video? Because she definitely hasn't. She's covered Eric's video. And by extension, I would now consider that we have also covered Eric's video. Now, we'll stick a link to her video and politely encourage my audience to go and let Emma know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots or by Emma herself. But let her know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. That's an @ symbol, Nathan Oakley 1980, all one word. That will put a blue link on that particular piece of text so that you can link back to my video. Because we've obviously taken our time to work our way through her work. And out of respect for the work that she's put in to produce this video, as a fellow YouTube videographer, I will put a link to her video so you can go and check her out, leave a comment, watch her video, like, subscribe, do whatever you like when you reach her material. Now, what I'm not doing is saying, go and check out Brian. Brian's a lesbian hater, and he talks all about women like this. So go and check out Brian so you can listen to how disingenuous lesbians are. You notice how I'm not doing that like you did with Simon Dan when you failed to recommend the work that you're actually critiquing. You went to some moron who doesn't understand how reference frames work within his own claim, exactly like you. Apparently they're negligible, as opposed to two of them that Simon Dan says are ruined and operating at 15 degrees an hour drift that we'd be claimed to notice but don't. Yeah, you're both imbeciles. But I won't recommend Brian the lesbian hater instead of you. I've put a link to your video, Emma. Best be grateful. Can someone put a link to Eric Dubay's video so that people can actually pop along and, by extension, say the same thing to Eric? At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Because the chick that covered your video didn't give you a link. Nathan's done it on her behalf to try and offset her scummy nature. Any other comments from anybody? Well, there's a couple. It might be a couple more minutes. We'll just play a little bit more.
For making this possible. I mean, at least we learned some cool stuff about aircrafts, right? About like jets. It's pretty cool. Jets go super fast. Kind of interesting. Make sure to like this video if you liked it. Do leave your thoughts down below, especially if you know stuff about science and maths and things. That'd be very appreciated.
Yeah, I did a pretty good job of elucidating the cause of a natural phenomena when detailing measurements with respect to a plane. That's a category error. You're now appealing to audience members to react to you based on your category error. Sad.
Share this video with a pal, share it with your mum, share it with my mum. What are you doing talking to my mum? Okay,
what are you doing covering Eric's video and recommending a completely ancillary videographer named Dan? Why are you doing that? Ed?
I'm still laughing about that. Go to a lesbian bar and drink from a furry.
It's a bit weird. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss future videos. Is there still a notification feature? I don't know, but if there is, you should try using it. YouTube is very complicated these days. The best way to support this channel and what I do here is via the Patreon. That's patreon.com.
Is this the same Patreon that she criticised Eric Dubay for having? Oh, my God, you freaking grifting bitch. Oh, so you're going to put your cap out in front of you when you bullshitted and lied and misrepresented people? You freaking e-begging grifter, lying scumbag. And you've got the gall to criticise Eric Dubay? Now, I'm just going to take this opportunity to say, yes, support me via Patreon, support Eric Dubay via Patreon. It's very difficult to make a living on YouTube as a censored, by government decree, YouTuber talking about measurements, not convoluting flat earth measurements of distance and altitude into a science category that it's not lying scumbaggery from a lesbian, no, actual research that's done in regards to earth flat measurements. That's what you can support by my and Eric's Patreon. But what do you know, Emma's got a Patreon too. Total scum. Do not support Emma.
.com/Emma-videos. With that, I'm
good.
I'm not going to support her on the fact that she might spend the money on more shirts like that and bad haircuts.
just kidding. give a big ol' thank you and a shout out to my giant chickens and colossal quackers over on Patreon, especially Conley.
Did she just call people colossal crackers? Ninja. Come on.
Conley, you flat bastard.
Right, that's pretty much it. Any overarching comments?
For as stupid as she is, she does have a pretty good production value to her videos, I think. But
she could have edited about half an hour of waffle and shite out of it.
Well, it's taken us a solid 3 hours of covering it.
And yikes.
Yeah,
it's just another example of a heliocentric. It's just another example of a heliocentric that's painted themselves into a corner by being dishonest. The title of her thing says 50 government documents that prove flat earther is an idiot. No, 50 government documents that prove NASA is an idiot. If she's saying none of NASA's documents are true. It's amazing. And then she's between the rock and the hard place because she's debunking NASA, not what Eric Dubay said, because like you said, he was just reading the NASA documents. And then she depends on NASA's 1972 blue marble as a perfectly round sphere, and then calls it an oblate spheroid, and then says, no, it's not an oblate spheroid, it's a smashed ball. It's nonsensical, circular reasoning. It's idiotic. But that's what they do. That she's not very bright, and the shirt is ugly.
So this is the next generation of ballers, and we've got to look forward to.
It's okay to for her to ask for money, but if you're discussing flat Earth, then you're not allowed to have any money.
Yeah. Yeah, squeeze us where it hurts in the pocketbook. Any other comments?
I recall her saying she used to do videos on how the moon landings were fake. I'd be curious to see if she now believes that it was real.
Any more for any more?
Yeah, it was disgraceful. Of 3 hours of hand wave dismissing the flat Earth measurements.
Anything else from Discord? If not, I'm going to round out the live show after 3 hours and 13 minutes. Nope. With that, I will say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premium streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined me on Patreon, checked out the book, Measured Flat, link in the info box below. I will add a note at this point to say if you did want to make money off the back of my book, you can actually become an affiliate and sell the book underneath your video or TikTok page or whatever it is that you do. So check out the link in the info box if you'd like to become an affiliate and sell copies of Measured Flat and make 30% on the sale of the book. If you haven't already picked up a copy, thousands of people have downloaded copies of my book, Measured Flat, so check it out and join the book that everybody's currently talking about. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Millimeter, it be accurately measured. It's measured flat, direction up and down. Flat level we at, flight over ground. Descending from that breeze, heading in.